Chapter 5795. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. When they reached Pinliang's room, Kang Ming glared at Lin Yi, motioning for him to stay put. He knocked on the door respectfully. Liang bro, Lin Yi is here. Come in. Pinliang said faintly from inside, and then went silent. Kang Ming was about to turn around and call for Lin Yi, but the latter pushed him to the side and pushed the door open. The decorations and furnishings in this room were almost the same as those CEO's offices on Earth. There was a sofa, a desk, a bar counter, a wine cabinet, a computer, and so on. As expected, with a wormhole, anything could be obtained. Pinliang sat at his desk with a serious face, clicking his mouse from time to time as if he was working on something important. He didn't seem to notice the arrival of Lin Yi and Kang Ming at all. Lin Yi scanned the room with his divine sense and couldn't help but laugh inwardly. The kid was really working on something important. The advanced minesweeper was already halfway done, and he couldn't afford to be distracted. Kang Ming squeezed past Lin Yi angrily and jogged to Pinliang's desk, bowing and smiling. Liang bro, I brought the kid Lin Yi here. Do you think we should arrange for a few more people to come over? This kid is very dangerous. Pinliang didn't even want to talk to the idiot anymore. If he really wanted to send more people, he would have done it a long time ago. What kind of bullshit was he spouting now, especially in front of Lin Yi? I'm really worried about his IQ. But since Kang Ming said it in front of him, Pinliang gave up on the difficult task of minesweeper. He raised his head and looked at Lin Yi, snorting coldly through his nose. That expression on his face made it clear that he was looking down on Lin Yi. Lin Yi's heart sank, wondering if Pinliang had really gone back on his word. After all, Lin Yi didn't use any means to control him. If he really betrayed Lin Yi, it wouldn't be strange. But if that was the case, Lin Yi would still feel that it was a pity. After all, Pinliang's performance had been good, and he had gained his trust. When Kang Ming turned around, he had already straightened his body. He slightly raised his head and said in an arrogant manner, Lin Yi, hurry up and greet Brother Liang when you see him. Do you want to send a letter to the secular world? Let me tell you, this is all Brother Liang needs to say. Do you understand? If you do, come over. Pinliang's hatred for Lin Yi was no less than Kang Ming's hatred for him. So, Kang Ming thought that if he stepped on Lin Yi in front of Pinliang, he would definitely be appreciated. If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid of Lin Yi's anger, he would have done it even more. Lin Yi was already thinking if he should teach Kang Ming a lesson, in case the guy forgot his surname and kept jumping out to be arrogant. It was annoying. Pinliang waved his hand casually. Zhao Ming, you can leave first. I need to talk to him. You don't have to do anything else. Kang Ming looked back at Pinliang, confused. He realized that it wasn't a joke, so he bowed. All right, Liang bro, I'll leave first. Call me if you need anything. As much as he wanted to stay and see what Pinliang and Lin Yi were talking about, Kang Ming didn't dare do so. He walked out obediently, and when he passed by Lin Yi, he threatened, Lin Yi, be careful. It's all our people outside. If you try anything funny, I guarantee you won't be able to leave the Chamber of Commerce. Lin Yi didn't waste any words. He reached out and grabbed Kang Ming's neck, throwing him out of the room and closing the door, isolating them from the outside world. This room could even block out divine senses, so there was no need to worry about any sound leaking out. Since Pinliang wanted to talk to Lin Yi alone, perhaps his worries were unnecessary. As expected, Pinliang's face changed as soon as the door closed. That cold, aloof look from before was nowhere to be seen, replaced by a warm smile as he rushed over to Lin Yi. Boss, you're back. I was so worried. Pinliang couldn't hold back the excitement in his heart any longer. He pounced on Lin Yi and gave him a hug before inviting him to sit on the sofa. Pinliang, you're doing well. You're already the Nakajima envoy of the Chamber of Commerce. Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. Pinliang was still his follower, Pinliang. He didn't betray him just because of his high position. It wasn't easy. It's just a coincidence. Actually, what I want the most is to be able to stay by your side, boss. This Nakajima envoy is so boring. Pinliang said with a smile. He turned around and took out a bottle of red wine, pouring a glass for both Lin Yi and himself. Lin Yi felt as if he'd returned to the common world as he accepted the glass Pinliang handed him. Everything here was just like the common world, there wasn't the slightest difference. Boss, I heard that you went back to the common world, so I spent a lot of effort and went through many channels to get transferred to Nakajima. I wanted to know your situation first thing, but it's been 2 years and you still haven't come back. To be honest, I feel like I've lost my backbone. Let's not talk about how anxious I was. Luckily, you're back safe and sound. It's good that you're fine, it's good that you're fine. Pinliang clinked his glass with Lin Yi's, full of emotions. So Pinliang came to Nakajima as the envoy because he was worried about him. Lin Yi didn't expect this guy to be so loyal to him. After taking a sip of wine, he smiled faintly, "You're considerate. I heard from Kong Ming that you, as the Nakajima envoy, are the person in charge here, right?" Pinliang nodded and smiled, "That's right. I basically have the final say in the central affairs of Nakajima, but there's a mysterious man in black above me. I don't know who he is, but he seems to be in charge of the entire central personnel of Sky-class Island. As for the North Island, the person in charge is Su Lingchong. This guy has some tricks up his sleeve. I transferred him to Nakajima, and he's the best shield, so no one suspected anything." Lin Yi understood what Pinliang meant. One mountain couldn't accommodate 2 tigers. Since Su Lingchong was in charge of the North Island, Pinliang naturally had to find another place to develop. Nakajima probably didn't consider him at first, but with Su Lingchong's excuse and his own operation, he was able to come to Nakajima. Chapter 5796. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go. Showa.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. By the way, how many higher-ups are there on the Heavenly Island? Lin Yi wanted to have a good understanding of the central power structure here so that he could deal with them in the future, so he specifically asked. Pinliang smiled bitterly. "Boss, I really don't know about that. It's always been that mysterious man in black contacting us. I said it's Nakajima's envoy, but he's still far from being able to enter the core circle." Lin Yi nodded. This situation was normal. If Pinliang was able to get into the core circle in such a short time, then it meant that he was suited to work in the center. It was better to move to the center as soon as possible. "Then you should know what the center has been up to recently, right?" Lin Yi had to settle for the next best thing. This problem should be much simpler. Pinliang was Nakajima's envoy, and even if he couldn't participate directly in the core of the plan, he had to be able to cooperate. From those clues, it was still very easy to find some clues to deduce what the center wanted to do. Pinliang thought about it and said, "Speaking of movements, I heard that the center is planning something called South Island. I'm not sure about the specifics. It's being handled by the mysterious man in black and Master Pao. I haven't had the chance to find out much useful information." "Master Pao? Who are you?" Lin Yi asked curiously. Perhaps this person was a key figure in the center. It would be great if he could understand more about him. "Love go small say net." Pinliang shrugged. "I'm not too sure myself. I've only seen this Master Pao once. He was wearing a hooded cloak, and his face was covered with a black cloth. I was wondering if he was Pao, but he didn't say anything, so I didn't dare think too much about it." Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Perhaps that was a possibility, but he wasn't in a rush. He'd look into it in the future. If Master Pao really was Zhang Naipeo, Pinliang might be able to turn things around. Speaking of which, Pinliang's authority as Nakajima's envoy was too low. He didn't have much useful information, but he hadn't been in the center for long. It was already hard enough for him to climb up the ranks. He shouldn't have too many requirements. Boss, there's no problem with the letter you wanted to send. I've specifically asked the higher-ups, and they said that you and the center have reached a 1-year non-aggression agreement. They've also given you the right to use the wormhole tunnel and research. We'll mind our own business and develop our own business. If there's anything you need to teleport, you can do it anytime. Pinliang didn't say much about Master Pao, instead returning to Lin Yi's letter. Lin Yi nodded casually. The signing of the agreement with the center should have been reported to Sky Class Island long ago, but Pinliang didn't know about it until now. It was obvious that he was only a member of the outer circle, and only had a high position on the surface. Sky Island are heart first. Lin's Pinliang's heart Lin's letter was the center Lin's long Pinliang heart Pinliang agreement. If the South Island plan is carried out and you want to destroy it, isn't it tantamount to tearing up the armistice agreement? Lin Yi paused and looked at Pinliang. You're saying that my agreement with the center includes Sky Class Island? Isn't it? Pinliang didn't know what was going on. That should be the case, but why didn't Lin Yi think so? Lin Yi slapped his forehead and said, I understand now. This time, I was really cheated by that woman, Lan Xiaoru. Her agreement didn't specify whether it was the mortal world or the heaven stage island. It only said that it was between the center and me, so it naturally included all places. Even if she wants me to return to heaven stage island, she can't just go and get in the way, right? Han Jingjing had already carefully found a hidden loophole in the agreement. She didn't expect there to be another one here, but it wasn't her fault. Maybe Han Jingjing didn't think that there was a problem with a 1-year armistice with the center. This was all because of the information asymmetry. If Han Jingjing knew that the center had a plan for the South Island, she would have suggested that the 1-year armistice was only for the mortal world. Pinliang heard this and immediately said to Lin Yi, Boss, the center wants you not to interfere with their plan. It's obvious that this is very important to them. It's fine if you don't want that agreement, but you can't let the center carry out their plan smoothly. Lin Yi nodded. You're right, but since this 1-year period has been set, I have to abide by it. Although both of us don't really care about this agreement, I won't be the first to go back on my word. Then what should we do? Pinliang really didn't think that breaking the agreement was a problem, but if Lin Yi kept his promise, Pinliang would only respect Lin Yi even more. A person like this was worthy of his loyalty. People like Kang Mingming, who treated promises like farts, would never be trusted. Lin Yi didn't answer Pinliang immediately. Instead, he closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. After a while, he smiled faintly. We won't break the agreement first, but if the center makes a move first, I won't have anything to worry about. Pinliang's eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and laughed. As expected, boss. You're right. We'll just let the center break the agreement. Since they knew that the center had a plan for the South Island, Lin Yi just needed to set up a plan in the South Island first. In the end, the center would definitely have a conflict with him because of this. At that time, they could say that the center broke the agreement, and that was the truth. There was no doubt about it. The only thing to worry about was the South Island. If Lin Yi went there, it would be very difficult for him to escape. If he went back to set up a plan, who knew what would happen? The spirit beasts were not to be trifled with, especially that vermilion bird. Lin Yi knew that he was far from being a match for vermilion bird. If he was discovered, he would be easily killed. Before Lin Yi could speak, Pinliang patted his chest and said, Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely speed up the investigation regarding the South Island plan. As long as we have a detailed location and target, it'll be much easier for us to prepare in advance. When that time comes, it won't be us causing trouble, but the center will cause trouble for us. Chapter 5797. If it weren't for Chen Dongqing's betrayal, Dafeng Bro would have been killed on the spot. Lin Yi didn't want this to happen to Zhong Pingliang again. So he would rather give up the plan to destroy the center than let Zhong Pingliang be caught for this reason. Although Lin Yi's words were simple, Zhong Pingliang could hear the meaning behind it. He was grateful in his heart and raised his glass. Boss, let's not talk too much. I wish us success in advance. With the crisp sound of glasses clinking, Lin Yi drank the red wine in the glass and put it down. Then I'll go back first. Let me know if there's any news. I'll remember. Boss, wait a moment, let me put away the glass first. Zhong Pingliang also drank the wine, then took Lin Yi's glass to wash, wiped it dry, and put it back in place. He poured some red wine into his own glass and put it on the desk. If the people who just came in saw it, they would definitely think that Zhong Pingliang was drinking alone and had no intention of drinking with Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded secretly. Zhong Pingliang seemed to have matured a lot, paying attention to these details. Otherwise, if he was seen through, he wouldn't need to inquire about the Southern Island plan. Who knew when he would disappear from the face of the earth? After finishing these things, Zhong Pingliang smiled and said to Lin Yi, Boss, I'll have to trouble you again. Lin Yi smiled carelessly and waved his hand, signaling Zhong Pingliang to do as he wanted. Seeing him like this, Lin Yi was only happy and relieved. Why would he feel wronged? Zhong Pingliang turned back to the desk, picked up the wine glass and sat on the office chair. He put both his legs on the desk, and the expression on his face became cold and arrogant again. Lin Yi had to give him a thumbs up for this acting. Kang Ming, come in for a moment. Pinliang said coldly as he pressed a button on the side. This was probably a technological product from the common world. Otherwise, no one would be able to hear him yelling at the top of his lungs in the room. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Kang Ming knocked on the door and came in. Obviously, he had been waiting outside the whole time. Brother Liang, you were looking for me? Kang Ming walked in with a face full of smiles. He was very happy to see Pinliang's expression and Lin Yi sitting on the sofa without a cup of tea in front of him. Pinliang snorted, his face expressionless. The higher-up said that we signed a 1-year truce with Lin Yi, and that we'll let him use the passage to the common world unconditionally. Send him out now, I don't want to see him anymore. Kang Ming wasn't surprised by this news. He must have heard about it before, so he turned to Lin Yi with a straight face. Did you hear that? Leave now, don't be an eyesore here. Luckily you signed a truce with us, or else you won't be walking out of this door today. This was a complete bluff. Kang Ming knew that Lin Yi wouldn't do anything to him, so he had the courage to say this. Lin Yi laughed coldly. Zhong Pingliang, Kang Ming, you two are just 2 small fry in the center. You don't even have the right to talk to me. I'm only here for Lan Xiaoru's sake today. If you trouble me like this again, believe it or not, I'll kill you too and Lan Xiaoru won't say anything. Kang Ming's body shook. It was possible. To the higher-ups in the center, he was just a replaceable chess piece. If he was killed by Lin Yi, no one would come to avenge him. Kang Ming was a little dispirited at this thought. He could only harumph. Stop bullshitting, we don't welcome you here. Leave. Don't come here if you have nothing to do. With that, he didn't dare wait for Lin Yi to continue. He quickly opened the door and signaled Lin Yi to leave. Behind Kang Ming, Lin Yi winked at Zhong Pingliang as a farewell greeting. He then smiled coldly. Zhong Pingliang, I'll send the letter properly. If anything happens, I'll come back for you. Zhong Pingliang didn't seem to care at all. He didn't even want to talk to Lin Yi. Kang Ming, who was standing at the door, was impressed. He dared to give Lin Yi the cold shoulder. Liang Bro was indeed Liang Bro. No wonder he's the envoy and I, Kang Ming, am just the envoy's assistant. It doesn't make sense. His goal was achieved. Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time. He said a few words and left, ignoring Kang Ming at the door. Kang Ming didn't dare to continue provoking Lin Yi. He didn't have any masters protecting him. He wouldn't be stupid enough to go up and ask for a beating. When he returned to Tiandan Pavilion, Ho Guanqi from Dan Hall, Kai Zhongyang from 5 Elements Commerce, and Wei Shinjin from Snow Sword School were all there. They welcomed Lin Yi when they saw him. "Brother Lin, you're finally back. Heroes come from the young. You've projected your soul for 2 years. I'm so worried. If I didn't receive the news just now, I wouldn't even know you're back. I'll punish myself with 3 drinks later." Kai Zhongyang laughed and was the first to speak. His face was full of joy. As the vice president of 5 Elements Commerce, he was naturally very tactful and experienced in dealing with people. However, Lin Yi could feel that what Kai Zhongyang said just now was sincere. Although Ho Guanqi was also Kai Zhongyang's senior brother, he didn't want to be the first. After Kai Zhongyang finished speaking, he walked forward and cupped his fists with a smile. "I've said it before. Brother Lin is a good man. Heaven helps him. There will definitely be no problem. Sure enough, it's just as I expected, right?" The last sentence was asked to Kai Zhongyang. Kai Zhongyang laughed and agreed immediately. Wei Shenjin was the last to come up. He said excitedly, "Boss, you're finally back." These 3 people took care of Tiandan Pavilion when Lin Yi wasn't around. However, the one who contributed the most was naturally Wei Shenjin. It was just that he happened to go back to the sect to deal with something today, so he didn't know the news of Lin Yi's return immediately. When Lin Yi took him in, he put the heart-devouring voodoo in him. If he didn't come back, Wei Shenjin would be buried with Lin Yi. However, he was really worried about the heart-devouring voodoo in the beginning. Slowly, he really fell in love with Tiandan Pavilion. He also really wanted to follow Lin Yi. Seeing Lin Yi back, he was happy from the bottom of his heart. This time, it was also thanks to Lin Yi giving the prescription to suppress the heart-devouring voodoo to Tian Chan in advance. Otherwise, after 2 years, Wei Shenjin might not even have any bones left. Chapter 5798. With their cultivation at this level, they had no need for food at all. However, eating something with abundant spiritual qi could not only satisfy their appetite, but also improve their cultivation. Why not? They talked with Lin Yi while following him to the living room. Tian Chan and Sydney did not come to accompany them, but were busy making some food and sending it up. "Brother Lin, I came late today because I was going to the northernmost island to participate in the auction. If you came back 1 or 2 days later, you might not see me in the central island." Kai Zhongyang said with a laugh, pointing out the reason why he could not come at the first time today. Ho Guanqi happened to be refining a furnace of medicinal pills. After finishing, he received the news and came immediately. Lin Yi waved his hand and did not care about these trivial things. Instead, he was very interested in the auction that Kai Zhongyang said. He had gone to the auction in the northernmost island with Hongzhong, and he still had a deep memory of it. So when he heard the news, he was a little excited. Anyway, he wanted to go back to the northernmost island. Of course, the northernmost island was the closest to the northernmost island. It would not delay anything if he went back by the way. "Brother Kai, when will the auction in the northernmost island start, and when are you going to leave?" Lin Yi asked casually. He didn't necessarily have to go to this auction if the time didn't match up. Kai Zhongyang laughed and said, "The auction will start in about half a month. Our preparation work has almost been completed. It is estimated that we will leave in these 2 days. Brother Lin, are you interested in going to see it together?" Lin Yi pondered for a moment and did not immediately answer Kai Zhongyang's question. If Han Jingjing could wake up smoothly, he could rest assured to see what good things were in the auction in the northernmost island. However, Kai Zhongyang and the others were going to leave in these 2 days. It was a little rushed. He did not know if Han Jingjing could return in these 2 days. If he left Han Jingjing in a coma like this, Lin Yi really couldn't leave the middle island with peace of mind. Whether it was going back to the North Island or investigating the South Island plan of the Center of Destruction, he couldn't be compared with Han Jingjing. Seeing that Lin Yi did not speak, Ho Guanqi thought about it and said, "Brother Lin, I have heard about Miss Han's situation. Unfortunately, my and Brother Kai's level of alchemy is too low, so we cannot help at all. but I think you should go to the auction in the northernmost island. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and said, is there something in the northernmost island auction that can help Jingjing's current situation? Without waiting for Hou Guanqi to answer, Kai Zhongyang clapped his hands and said, yes, if senior brother did not remind me, I really did not think of this. After saying that, he realized that it was too impolite to rush to speak, so Kai Zhongyang quickly apologized to Hou Guanqi, senior brother, I am sorry. I was excited and interrupted you. Hou Guanqi waved his hand and said with a smile, we are brothers. There is no need to apologize. You know this better than me. It is more appropriate for you to say it. Lin Yi did not care who said it. As long as it could help Han Jingjing, it was fine. However, he could not urge them, so he could only look at the two brothers with anticipation. Kai Zhongyang was also not polite. After expressing his apology to Hou Guanqi, he immediately said, it is like this. In this northernmost island auction, there will be a few precious things participating in the auction. Among them, there is a treasure that is beneficial to Miss Han. Brother Kai, please explain in detail. Lin Yi was anxious, but Kai Zhongyang did not get to the point, so he could only ask for guidance. In this auction, there is a spirit gathering branch. This is a treasure that can condense the spirit. As long as you carry it with you, it can constantly nourish the spirit and gather the power of spiritual sense. Miss Han's current situation is that after the spirit projection, it cannot return to the body normally. If you can have the spirit gathering branch, it should be able to guide the direction of the return of the spirit. Even if you can't wake up for a while, you can slowly gather the power of the spirit. Kai Zhongyang said in detail. This spirit gathering branch was really useful for Han Jingjing. After hearing this, Lin Yi had decided to get this spirit gathering branch at all costs. Even if Han Jingjing could wake up before this spirit gathering branch was also quite useful. Seeing that Lin Yi was very interested, Kai Zhongyang continued, in addition to the spirit gathering branch, there is also the soul wood, but this is a treasure that nourishes the spirit. It is not helpful for Miss Han's situation, but if these two can be used together, the effect may have a bonus effect. Lin Yi's heart moved. The soul wood was not very useful for Han Jingjing, but it should be very useful for ghost things. Moreover, with this thing, the spirit projection in the future would also be of great help. Brother Kai, it seems that I have to go to the auction this time. I will have to trouble you to take me there. Lin Yi smiled and cupped his hands at Kai Zhongyang. Although he could go to the northernmost island himself, it would be more convenient to go with Kai Zhongyang. Whether it was the soul wood or the spirit gathering branch, these treasures would definitely attract a lot of people. Lin Yi was not sure if he would have enough money to buy them, so on the way there, he would have to make more elixirs to sell. Kai Zhongyang laughed heartily and said, younger brother Lin is too polite. What trouble? To be able to travel with you is my honor. When the time comes, I will have to ask for your advice on elixir making. This wasn't just a polite thing to say. Although Kai Zhongyang was Zhang Liju's disciple, his elixir making skills were far below even Zheng Dongsheng's, not to mention Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi's name as a master elixir maker was one of the best in East Continent. Hou Guanqi laughed as well. If that's the case, I will have to go as well. Otherwise, wouldn't I miss such a good opportunity? Of course, Shixiang will have to come along. It's a rare opportunity, wouldn't it be a waste to miss it? Kai Zhongyang's face was full of joy. The more people going, the better it would be. Wei Shenjin followed, boss, can I go as well? Although I don't know much about elixir making, I can run errands and run errands. In the Snow Sword sect of Middle Island, Wei Shenjin was one of the more special ones. If he wanted to go with Lin Yi to the northernmost island, basically no one would object. Chapter 5799. Kai Zhongyang smiled and said, Little Wei, it's good to go together. There should be something suitable for you at the far north island. Just remember to bring enough spirit jades. After deciding on who to go with them, Kai Zhongyang turned to Lin Yi and said, Brother Lin, we're taking a huge ship to the far north island this time. The ship is scheduled to dock tomorrow night. If we're on time, we can leave the day after tomorrow. I'll inform you then. Thank you, Brother Kai. Lin Yi smiled and thanked him before he raised his glass. Let me propose a toast to everyone. Thank you for taking care of Tian Chan and Sydney for the past 2 years. The three of them hurriedly raised their wine glasses and exchanged a few polite words. Then, they raised their heads and downed the wine in one gulp. While the atmosphere in the Tiandan pavilion was harmonious, the atmosphere in the medicine sect was a little tense. Lin Yi's sudden return made Jing Dongsheng a little uneasy. He had been discussing Lin Yi with Wu Miao and Nantian Aurora before this guy popped out. If this continued, Jing Dongsheng had a premonition that he would be chased away by Lin Yi again. It had happened once in the East Continent. He didn't want it to happen again in the Central Island. Zheng Dongjue put down the teacup in his hand expressionlessly and said faintly, "Cousin, since that brat Lin Yi is back, the revival of the Heavenly Dan Pavilion shouldn't be a problem. Do you have any ideas?" Zheng Dongsheng said impatiently, "What ideas can I have? Wait for Wu Miao and Nantian Aurora to discuss it. We have to come up with a plan. Dongjue, can't you arrange for some spies to go to Tiandan Pavilion? Don't you know that we're at a disadvantage because we don't have accurate information? There are only a few people in Tiandan Pavilion. It's not easy to bribe them, let alone arrange for spies." Zheng Dongjue snorted and said with some dissatisfaction, "Cousin, isn't Tong Yang's death too worthless this time? Don't bring people to do something so meaningless next time." Meaningless things? Zheng Dongsheng was inwardly annoyed, but Tong Yangsua was Zheng Dongjue's man. Since he was killed by the will of heaven when he went out with Zheng Dongjue, he couldn't say anything. It was only right for Zheng Dongjue to grumble a little. "Tong Woli, come in." After Zheng Dongjue finished speaking, he raised his voice and called in a tall and skinny man outside the door. This tall and skinny man had a gloomy face, but his eyes were extremely sharp. He did not say anything as he walked in, only cupped his fists and bowed to Zheng Dongjue and Zheng Dongsheng, then stood up straight and waited at the side. Zheng Dongjue pointed at the lanky man and said to Zheng Dongsheng, "Cousin, this is Tong Yangsui's younger brother, Tong Wulsui. The two of them have been with me for many years and can be said to be my left and right arms. This time, I will hand him over to you, you must protect him." "Of course." Zheng Dongsheng smiled and nodded to Tong Woli. Without Tong Yangsui by his side, it was somewhat inconvenient to do things. Now that Tong Woli was here, it could be said that he had helped him a lot, so his attitude was considered gentle. As for Tong Yangsui dying because of him, Zheng Dongsheng never thought about it. Of course, those who followed him had to be prepared to die at any time. Tong Woli cupped his fists and bowed again, then finally said, "Grandmaster Zheng, this subordinate will do his best to assist Grandmaster. Moreover, this subordinate will definitely take revenge for my brother." Zheng Dongsheng nodded and promised, "That's natural. I am also quite sad that Tong Yangsui died. This revenge must be avenged. You can rest assured that the will of heaven will take care of him sooner or later. As long as you can do your job wholeheartedly, you will soon see this scene." Tong Woli gritted his teeth and said, "Thank you, Grandmaster Zheng. When the time comes, please let this subordinate deal with the will of heaven. If this subordinate doesn't cut him into pieces, this subordinate will not be able to dispel the hatred in his heart." Of course, that's not a problem. That ignorant the will of heaven deserved such an ending. Zheng Dongsheng agreed to Tong Yangsui's request. He did not need to take out any benefits, and this way, he could obtain Tong Woli's gratitude and loyalty. It was simply too worth it. Zheng Dongjue smiled and said, "Cousin, Tong Woli is meticulous and is a rare think tank. Therefore, I asked him to come over. Perhaps he can give some useful advice." "Oh. Woli, you are such a rare talent. Come, sit down and talk." Zheng Dongsheng revealed a pleasantly surprised expression and warmly invited Tong Woli to sit down. He looked like a courteous scholar, but Tong Woli was well aware that there was some sincerity in it. After thanking him, Tong Woli also sat down. However, he only put his hands on half of the chair and straightened his back, not daring to show the slightest disrespect. Tong Woli, tell me, is there any way to deal with Tiandan Pavilion? Zheng Dongjue casually glanced at Tong Woli and said lightly. This was to let Tong Woli show off in front of Zheng Dongsheng. Tong Woli immediately cupped his fists and said, this subordinate thinks that since Lin Yi has returned, then Tiandan Pavilion can't be touched for the time being. Not to mention his own strength and ability, just Okuda Prefecture, Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and that ignorant man the will of heaven alone have a terrifying support for Lin Yi. Before he returned, this support would not be fully displayed, but now it is at the peak. Zheng Dongsheng asked curiously, don't you want to seek revenge from the will of heaven? Tiandan Pavilion and the will of heaven are actually two existences. Don't you understand this? Replying to Master Zheng, this subordinate certainly understands this, but revenge is revenge, and it also needs the right time. This subordinate will not be blinded by hatred and make some wrong judgments. Tong Woli showed some hatred on his face, but he immediately suppressed it. Zheng Dongsheng nodded with satisfaction and said, not bad, it is very good that you can think this way. Continue, now that we can't touch Tiandan Pavilion, what should we do? It's very simple, take drastic measures. A trace of madness flashed in Tong Woli's eyes, and even Zheng Dongsheng and his brother did not notice it. This subordinate thinks that Tiandan Pavilion itself is not enough to be feared, and Lin Yi will not always stay in Middle Island. He will only come occasionally, so as long as we get rid of the supporters of Tiandan Pavilion, it will be fine. Are you saying that we should get rid of the acting island master position of Okuda Prefecture? It is not that we have not thought of this method, but it is not very useful. Zheng Dongsheng was a little disappointed. If Tong Woli only had this little knowledge, then he could not be called a wise man. Chapter 5800. Zheng Dongjue said faintly, Tong Wulsuo, tell me your plan, don't waste time. Yes, Vice Head. Tong Wulsuo bowed slightly and continued, we have to make a move on Okuda Prefecture, and the breakthrough point is his brother, Okuda Ba. I've received news that Okuda Ba has already formed a small fleet of treasure ships. We can think of a way to deal with this, and if he gets into trouble, our acting island master won't just stand by and watch. Zheng Dongsheng's eyes brightened. Why hadn't he, Wu Miao, and Nantian Aurora thought of this before? Okuda Ba was indeed quite a character, but the problem wasn't killing him. It wasn't that difficult. If Okuda Ba was still that ancient warship, it wouldn't be easy to deal with him, but since he had formed a small fleet of treasure ships, there would be a lot more opportunities. Tong Wulsuo stretched out a finger, indicating that what he had just said was the first point. Then, he stretched out a second finger and said, the matter of Okuda State can't be settled so quickly, so we have to take multiple measures at the same time. The second person to make a move is Ho Guanqi from the Dan Hall. With him being a hindrance here, it won't be easy for us to control the Dan Hall, and his support for the heavenly Dan Hall is second only to the Okuda State. Zheng Dongjue's lips curled. Compared to destroying Tiandan Pavilion, he wanted to control the Elixir Hall more. Zhang Liju couldn't always appear at critical moments, and as long as he could completely control the Elixir Hall, he could slowly wear down Zhang Liju's influence. Tong Wulsuo's suggestion suited him very well. We can't deal with Ho Guanqi in the Middle Island. After all, the Elixir Hall has too much influence here, and it's almost impossible to succeed without a thorough plan. Same goes for Kai Zhongyang of Five Elements Commerce. Tong Wulsuo raised 3 fingers, indicating that these 3 were the most important. As for the will of heaven, Tong Wulsuo didn't mention it. He clearly thought that the will of heaven wasn't a concern, and it was unknown whether it was because of his desire for revenge or because he really thought so. Zheng Dongsheng nodded repeatedly. Although Tong Wumiao didn't tell him the details of his plan, it seemed like it was going in the right direction. It was clearly much better than the plan he had discussed with Wu Miao and Southern Aurora. Originally, it would not be easy to deal with these people, but this is an excellent opportunity. Tong Wulsuo smiled coldly and retracted his outstretched finger, showing his great confidence. What do you mean? Zheng Dongxing was attracted by Tong Wuli's words and could not help but ask. The Extreme North Island auction. Tong Wulsuo clenched his fists tightly, producing crackling sounds. At the same time, he retracted his sinister smile and spoke in an affirmative tone. Zheng Dongjue interrupted, our pill hall will also be participating in the Extreme North Island's auction this time, so I will think of a way to send Ho Guanqi to the Extreme North Island. 5 Elements Commerce's Kai Zhongyang shouldn't be absent. The two of them will definitely travel together. Tong Wulsuo, our most important goal now is to control the pill hall, so when you come up with a plan, you must prioritize this goal. Also, don't provoke Lin Yi for the time being. Put aside anything that might cause a conflict with Lin Yi first. At this moment, Zheng Dongjue still didn't know that Ho Guanqi had already decided to go to the Extreme North Island. Otherwise, he would definitely laugh out loud and say that the heavens were on his side. He didn't even need to think of a way to achieve his goal. This was a good start. I understand. Don't worry, Vice Hall Master. Tong Wulsuo bowed respectfully and agreed. Then, he continued, Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang are going to the Extreme North Island together. This is the best time to make a move. According to the information I received, they will go on the Okuda Dam's ship. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We must grasp it well. Zheng Dongxing couldn't help but be slightly moved. He didn't expect that the 3 important figures in Tong Wulsuo's plan would gather together at once. It was indeed a heaven-sent opportunity. After leaving the island, it would be much easier to deal with the 3 of them. Once something happens to the Okuda Dam, the Okuda Prefecture would definitely not sit idly by. Zheng Dongjue and the others would take the opportunity to make things difficult for him. It wouldn't be a problem to kick him out of his position as the acting island master. This Tong Wulsuo really seemed to be a bit of a strategist. Zheng Dongjue smiled with satisfaction. If we want to deal with them on the ship, we must have our people follow them. Tong Wulsuo, do you want to follow them? How many helpers do you need? Of course, it's easier for me to control the situation if I follow them. If there are any small changes, I can adjust it at any time. As for helpers, I don't need too many. Otherwise, it will easily arouse their vigilance. Just 2 or 3 experts will be enough. Tong Wulsuo replied respectfully. At the same time, he showed enough confidence. Zheng Dongxing clapped and laughed. Good, that's great. As long as this matter is completed, Tong Wulsuo, any reward you want is not a problem, especially in terms of medicinal pills. As long as you can find the herbs, I can refine them for you for free. Thank you, Grandmaster Zheng. This subordinate will not hesitate even if I have to sacrifice my life for you. Tong Wulsuo's face was full of gratitude, but he was very disdainful in his heart. It was good to refine pills for free, but to do such a big thing, he actually had to find the spiritual herbs to refine pills himself. It was really too stingy. Zheng Dongjue slapped his forehead and said, That's right, cousin, there is something I forgot to say. This time, among the people from our pill hall going to the Extreme North Island, there is an important person. I heard that Tianqing's nephew is young and promising. He is a rare Qilin of our Zheng family. Why don't we let him follow us this time? If there is a chance on the way, we can get our hands on that important person. Then, the day when the pill hall falls into our hands is really close. Oh. Who is it that is so important? Zheng Dongxing was slightly startled. His grandson, Zheng Tianqing, was only in his early 20s, but he was already in the early stage of nascent soul realm. He was indeed a good genius. Especially Zheng Tianqing's cultivation, he did not rely on too many medicinal pills. It could be said that it was quite rare. This time, he had just arrived at the middle island from the east continent. Zheng Dongjue had not even seen his face yet. How could he have his eyes on him? Zheng Dongjue smiled mysteriously and said in a low voice, "Cousin, rest assured. Do you think I will harm Tianqing? If it wasn't for Tianqing, this disappointing person, I may not be willing to let Tianqing get involved." After that, without waiting for Zheng Dongxing to ask, he directly leaned over and beckoned him to come closer. Chapter 5801. After hearing this name, Zheng Dongxing's face was suddenly full of shock, which immediately turned into a huge surprise. He grabbed Zheng Dongjue's wrist and said, "Is what you said true? Is she really going to follow us to the northern island?" Zheng Dongjue chuckled and said, "Naturally it is true, and you only know her identity on the surface. The other hidden identity is absolutely not known." "There is a hidden identity? What is it?" Zheng Dongxing was slightly startled. Just the identity on the surface is enough to match up with his grandson Zheng Tianqing. What hidden identity is there? "You don't need to know this for the time being. If the heavenly crystal is successful, I will definitely tell you in detail. But now is not the time, cousin. You just need to tell the heavenly crystal that he must go all out to do this. He will absolutely not suffer a loss." Zheng Dongjue waved his hand. He did not reveal the answer to Zheng Dongxing's question. Zheng Dongxing could only endure the unbearable itch in his heart. Since Zheng Dongjue did not say it now, then there must be a reason. Zheng Dongxing will not force the other party to say it. Anyway, the identity of that person on the surface is enough to match up with his grandson Zheng Tianqing. The other hidden identity, for the time being, is really not important. Good. In that case, I will let the heavenly crystal go with us. Zheng Dongxing nodded, then turned to Tong Wulsuo and said, "Wulsuo, I will ask you to take care of my grandson. Remember, the safety of him and that person is the most important. As for the rest of the plan, you can act according to the circumstances. It is better to let go than to invite trouble. Do you understand?" This subordinate understands. Tong Wulsuo bowed his head and respectfully replied, but when he bowed his head, his eyes flashed a trace of disappointment. Zheng Dongxing was always overcautious. He always changed his mind. He really did not have any courage. This kind of person, if he wanted to have any big development, it was almost impossible. "Well, you can leave first. Go and arrange the manpower and other matters. Under the premise of ensuring the safety of the heavenly crystal and that person, think of a way to complete the task with the least amount of movement and cost." Zheng Dongxing solemnly ordered, then waved his hand to dismiss Tong Woli. Here, the itinerary for the northern island was set. The Tiandan pavilion was almost finished. Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang had to continue their preparations, so they left. Wei Shinjin stayed for a while, then left the Tiandan pavilion. After waiting for everyone to leave, Lin Yi also left the Tiandan pavilion and quickly flew towards the seaside. With his speed, he would soon arrive. The reason why he took advantage of the night to come to the seaside was not to find some romance, but to release Languza. If he suddenly appeared in the Tiandan pavilion, it would not be easy to explain the origin of Languza. Moreover, Lin Yi needed Languza's identity as the overlord of the sea. This trip to the northern island, with Languza cruising in the nearby sea, it was estimated that it would be much smoother, so he did not hesitate to secretly put Languza in the sea, waiting for a chance encounter in the future. Then Languza could reasonably follow him. After coming out of the space of the jade pendant, Languza stretched his waist, making a crackling sound, then curiously looked around a few times and said, "Boss, this is the heavenly island? There doesn't seem to be anything fun here. It's no different from the small Jianghu." Lin Yi faintly smiled and said, "Languza, I have mentioned to you before that I will let you cruise in the surrounding sea and help me collect some inner dawn of sea beasts. Now, you have to act as a person to protect the treasure ship from a distance. When we reach the shore, you can find any excuse to meet me." Although Languza did not want to leave Lin Yi, since Lin Yi had made a decision, he would certainly not oppose it. He could only hope that there were enough sea beasts in this sea. In any case, he was also a member of the royal family of the Endless Sea. If he could show off here, it would be a very satisfying thing. Moreover, he would be protecting the surroundings, not far from Lin Yi, so there was no need to worry too much. "Languza, your strength is indeed at the pinnacle in the immemorial underworld. However, there are countless people who are stronger than you on the heavenly stage island. Not only are they at the mountain opening stage, but there are also many at the earth opening stage and even the sea splitting stage. Especially in the depths of the various seas, even though you are a dragon in the sea, you must not be careless. Lin Yi said to Languza with a dignified expression. The mysterious ascension late stage was not weak, but compared to the real experts in the sea, it was still an ant. For example, the five evils dragon was thousands of times stronger than Languza, but he still hid in his nest and did not dare to come out. Of course, it was also because he was targeted by the vermilion bird, otherwise, it should not be too big a problem for him to become the overlord of a region. Languza did not care and said with a smile, "Boss, don't worry, I, Languza, have always been cautious in doing things. I will never do things that I am not sure of, but once I do it, I will definitely succeed. With my peerless talent, I will soon be able to improve my strength and become the real king of the sea." Lin Yi smiled faintly. Languza was cautious in doing things. This joke was not bad. However, his talent was indeed quite strong. It should not be too difficult for a mutated sea dragon to break through the mysterious ascension stage and enter the mountain opening stage. If it could evolve into a real sea dragon again, the sea splitting stage and earth opening stage would not be too big of an obstacle. Okay, go, be careful. When you enter the mountain opening stage, come back and follow me again. Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand at Languza, and set a goal for him. This was not a difficult thing for Languza. After the sea dragon returned to the sea, leveling up was a relatively simple thing. It would not take long for him to achieve this goal. Languza patted his chest and laughed loudly at Lin Yi. "Boss, don't worry, I, Languza, still want to go everywhere with you to play. It's just the mountain opening stage, it won't take a few months." If he was still in the small Jianghu of ancient times, Languza would definitely not dare to say such big words. Every small stage of the mysterious ascension stage could not be broken through without decades of accumulation, but after arriving at the heavenly island, Languza clearly felt that this place was different from the small Jianghu of ancient times. Although he could not explain it clearly, he could feel that his cultivation had a desire to soar into the sky. Perhaps it was because the spiritual qi here was more abundant, or perhaps it was because the rules of heaven and earth on the heavenly island were more complete. There was less suppression on the strength of the realm. Chapter 5802. Under normal circumstances, the two could use the communication bead to contact each other. In order to prevent special situations, Lin Yi and Languza agreed not to use the communication bead at sea, and then let him leave Zhongdao. After returning to Tiandan Pavilion, Lin Yi began to refine the 6th and 7th grade elixirs. On the one hand, it was for Tiandan Pavilion to sell, and on the other hand, it was also to prepare for the auction. Of course, if he wanted to use elixirs to raise the funds to buy the Spirit Gathering Branch and the Soul Nourishing Wood, the 6th and 7th grade elixirs were probably not enough. Although the Thunder Xian pill was precious, if he wanted to buy treasures like the Spirit Gathering Branch and the Soul Nourishing Wood with it, it must be accumulated in quantity. Lin Yi did not want to refine all his Thunder Xian Rattan into Thunder Xian pill and then exchange it for the Spirit Gathering Branch and the Soul Nourishing Wood. It was too wasteful. The best way, of course, was to refine the first-grade elixirs of the Soul Nourishing Wood. For example, the Solid Earth pill, which could be used by the Earth Opening Stage, or the Mountain Gazing pill, which was used to comprehend the breakthrough of the mysterious ascending stage to the Mountain Opening Stage. It was a pity that although Lin Yi had the prescriptions of these two elixirs, he did not have the materials to refine them. The preciousness of these materials was indeed incomparable to the Spirit Gathering Branch and the Soul Nourishing Wood, but it was more precious and rare than the Thunder Xian Rattan. After a night of refining elixirs, Lin Yi handed all the elixirs to Tian Chan. However, he heard that Shanghai Laner was picked up by Tian Chan last night. It seemed that there was something urgent. Originally, Shanghai Laner was going to say goodbye to Lin Yi, but she heard that he was refining elixirs in seclusion, so she did not disturb him. She directly followed Ram Jia, who came to pick her up, back to the North Island. Hearing that the person who came was Ram Jia, Lin Yi was not worried that Shanghai Laner would be in danger. In the whole North Island, except for Tian Chan, Ram Jia was probably the last person who would hurt Shanghai Laner. He did not know what happened in the North Island that made Tian Chan take Lan Er back so urgently. Lin Yi thought that when he passed the North Island this time, he must go and have a look, but now he could only put it aside. If Tian Chan needed his help, Ram Jia should wait for him to come out. Since he did not say anything, it meant that the matter was not urgent enough for Lin Yi to help. Seeing that there was no change in Han Jingjing, Lin Yi went out again and went to Alchemy Hall to look for Ho Guanqi. Ho Guanqi had taken the initiative to go to the auction in the far North Island, so he was also packing at the moment. He was a little surprised by Lin Yi's sudden visit. "Brother Lin, why do you suddenly come to me?" Ho Guanqi greeted him with a smile. If everything went well, they would be on the boat together tonight. Now that Lin Yi came, it must be for something. Lin Yi smiled and cupped his fists, saying, "Brother Ho, I took the liberty to visit you. Don't you welcome me?" "How could it be? You are a rare guest that I can't even invite. Come in and sit down." Ho Guanqi laughed and pulled Lin Yi in. After asking someone to serve spiritual tea, he asked, "Brother, you are not here just to chat with me, are you?" "Chatting is also one of my goals, but I still have something I need Brother Ho's help with." Lin Yi did not stand on ceremony and revealed his purpose with a smile. "It's like this. I came this time to ask Brother Ho if there are any mountain-gazing stones in the alchemy hall. If there are, can you sell some to me? Brother Lin wants to refine the mountain-gazing pill. With your cultivation, you really should get ready." Ho Guanqi was slightly startled, but then he felt relieved. Lin Yi was already at the peak of the late stage of mysterious ascension. It was normal for him to prepare to comprehend the mountain-gazing pill of the mountain-opening stage in advance. The name mountain-gazing stone sounded like a stone, but it was actually a type of spirit fruit. It was just that its appearance was very similar to a stone, so it had such a name. To be precise, it should be called mountain-gazing fruit. However, this mountain-gazing fruit was extremely rare, much more precious than the lightning xian vine. Even the alchemy hall might not have it. Lin Yi was just asking with the mentality of trying it out. He didn't really expect to get the mountain-gazing stone. Unexpectedly, Ho Guanqi nodded. "If it's mountain-gazing stones, the alchemy hall does have some in reserve. This thing was left behind by my master, and other than him, no one else would use it. There should be 2 left." Lin Yi was delighted. He didn't think that the alchemy hall would actually have mountain-gazing stones. As expected of the pill god Zhang Liju's territory, there were many good things. As for 2 mountain-gazing stones, that was definitely enough. Lin Yi knew that 1 stone was enough for him to refine 5 to 6 mountain-gazing pills. As long as he could get 1, he wouldn't have to worry about not having enough spirit jades for the future auctions. "Brother Ho, I wonder if this mountain-gazing stone of the alchemy hall can be transferred to me? How many spirit stones do you need? Just tell me." Lin Yi didn't hide his desire for the mountain-gazing stone. If it were someone else, of course, he wouldn't speak like this, but since it was Ho Guanqi, it didn't matter. He wouldn't raise the price to Lin Yi no matter what. Ho Guanqi hesitated for a moment before saying with a bitter smile, "Brother Lin, if it's my own, there's no harm in giving these 2 mountain-gazing stones to you. However, you also know that this isn't mine. Instead, it's something that Master left in the pill hall as a reserve. If there's someone in our pill hall who can refine the mountain-gazing pill, it's fine to use it." Lin Yi understood immediately. If he wanted to use the mountain-gazing stone to refine the pill, he first had to become a disciple of the alchemy hall. As for how they used the resources and what they needed to trade, that wasn't important. He wasn't even a disciple of the alchemy hall, so it was impossible for him to get the mountain-gazing stone. Seeing Lin Yi's disappointed look, Ho Guanqi gritted his teeth and said, "Brother Lin, if you were to refine the mountain-gazing pill, how confident are you?" Lin Yi was slightly startled. Although he hadn't refined the mountain-gazing pill before, it wasn't that the Shin Nong Cauldron hadn't refined a first-grade profound rank pill before. It shouldn't be too difficult to refine it. If it was only one furnace, the success rate couldn't be guaranteed. If it was 2 furnaces, the success rate wouldn't fluctuate much after the correction. Brother Ho, the mountain gazing pill is a first-grade profound rank pill. I think the success rate is more than 60%. Lin Yi casually said a conservative number. Then, his eyes lit up. Could it be that Brother Ho has a way for me to refine the mountain gazing pill? Chapter 5803. I see. Lin Yi was impressed by this rule, and of course, he was even more impressed by Zhang Liju, who had set up this store. High-level treasures might not have much of a circulation, but low-level herbs were enough for most disciples to have to worry about not having enough ingredients to concoct pills. With this rule in place, the storehouse would only get bigger and bigger. It was a pity that Ho Guanqi wasn't a mystic first-level refiner, and he didn't have the right to exchange for the mountain-gazing stone. Lin Yi didn't know what he was talking about. Ho Guanqi didn't want to keep him in suspense. He continued speaking to Lin Yi. With my identity in the hall, I can use a mountain-gazing stone to concoct a pills. Of course, the rule is that I have to exchange with something of equal value, or exchange with points. That's not a problem. The problem is that while I can exchange for it, I have to return the corresponding pill first. Lin Yi understood instantly. No wonder Ho Guanqi asked him about his chances of success. If he couldn't guarantee success, then Ho Guanqi wouldn't be able to return the pill, and that would cause problems. Brother Ho, how many pills do you need for a mountain-gazing stone to complete the task? And what should I use to exchange for it? Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't make things difficult for Ho Guanqi. As long as he could concoct the mountain-gazing pill, Lin Yi believed that his Shinong Cauldron would be able to concoct more than what he needed. Ho Guanqi smiled. Don't worry about the exchange, I'll take care of that. As for the mountain-gazing pill, it'll be good enough if we can return one to the hall. We don't need many. After all, it's not easy to concoct the mountain-gazing pill, and you have a 60% chance of success. One mountain-gazing stone should be able to concoct 2 or 3 pills, right? Lin Yi calmed down. 5 sets of ingredients, and the Shinong Cauldron might be able to concoct 7 mountain-gazing pills. Other than the uncertainty of the first attempt, Lin Yi estimated that he would have at least 4 or 5, and giving Ho Guanqi 2 would be no problem. In actuality, Ho Guanqi was a bit worried. What he didn't tell Lin Yi was that if he failed to apply for resources beyond his level, he'd have to pay double the penalty, and he wouldn't be able to go to the storage for 2 years to trade for materials, especially if the materials he traded weren't for his own use. The consequences were even more serious. Helping Lin Yi this time, Ho Guanqi was indeed taking a huge risk. He might be Zhang Liju's disciple, but making a mistake like this in the Hall of Elixirs still wasn't something he could talk about. If Lin Yi knew about this, he wouldn't have asked Ho Guanqi to get the mountain-gazing stone for himself. He'd rather sell all the lightning Xian vine than let Ho Guanqi get into trouble. Brother Ho, please rest assured, a mountain-gazing pill is absolutely not a problem. As for the materials to be exchanged, I really don't have anything that can compare to the mountain-gazing stone. I wondered if this piece of spiritual sense grass root can do it. Lin Yi took out a flat jade box he'd prepared, and in it was a palm-sized and 2-finger-thick spirit grass. He passed it to Ho Guanqi casually, thinking that this should be more than enough to exchange for the mountain-gazing stone, right? After all, the spirit grass's ability to refine one's spirit-ignored levels, even earth-opening level, could use it. Ho Guanqi's face changed, and he quickly took it with both hands. After opening the jade box, he cried out in shock, "It really is the legendary spirit grass root." Although he hadn't seen the spirit grass root before, the waves of mysterious aura that was enough to cause spirit ripples made him completely sure that this was the legendary spirit grass root. Brother Lin, where did you get this kind of treasure? Such a big piece of spirit grass root, not to mention 1 mountain-gazing stone, even 10 mountain-gazing stones wouldn't be enough to exchange for it. Ho Guanqi closed the jade box excitedly, wanting to return it to Lin Yi, but he seemed reluctant. Brother Ho, you know about the spirit grass root? Although it's very good to use the spirit grass root to refine the spirit grass root, it's not enough to exchange for 10 mountain-gazing stones, right? Lin Yi looked at Ho Guanxi strangely. He didn't know why the spirit grass root made him so excited. This was just a small piece that he casually cut off, and he was already so excited. If Ho Guanxi saw the entire spirit grass root in the jade pendant space, wouldn't he faint directly? Brother Lin, you didn't directly use the spirit grass root to refine the spirit grass root, right? Ho Guanxi looked at Lin Yi with a sluggish face. His eyes were full of the look of looking at a prodigal son. Lin Yi said in his heart, weren't we talking about the mountain-gazing stone? Why are we getting further and further away from the spirit grass root? But looking at Ho Guanxi's expression, Lin Yi also wanted to know, the spirit grass root wasn't directly used to refine the spirit, was there any other use? Brother Ho, I did directly use the spirit grass root to refine the spirit, is there anything wrong with it? In terms of alchemy knowledge, Lin Yi really couldn't compare to Ho Guanxi. Although he had Zhang Liju's alchemy notes, it was only compiled in the secular world. The basic theory was indeed incomparably strong. In other aspects, until now, it has slowly become insufficient. After Ho Guanxi heard Lin Yi's words, he was simply heartbroken. Hey, Brother Lin, it's not that I want to criticize you. You are already a mystic-class alchemy master, how can you do such a reckless thing? The spirit grass root is a legendary treasure, you actually used it directly to refine the spirit, it's simply too wasteful. Haven't you heard of the spirit tempering pill? Lin Yi suddenly blushed. His title as a mystic-class alchemy master really didn't live up to the name. If there was no Han Jingjing, he wouldn't be able to refine the pill at all. As for what the spirit tempering pill was, he really hadn't heard of it. Ho Guanxi sighed, and without waiting for Lin Yi to speak, he continued, I can't blame you for not knowing, although the spirit tempering pill recipe is still circulated, but the spirit grass and spirit grass root have long been extinct in the Heavenly Island, so this spirit tempering pill is now not heard by many people, plus the Heavenly Island doesn't pay too much attention to the cultivation of the spirit, saying that the spirit tempering pill has been lost doesn't matter. Brother Ho, you mean, the spirit grass root can be refined into the spirit tempering pill? And the effect is even better than directly using the spirit grass root to refine the spirit? Lin Yi has already understood, and his heart was also a little regretful. It seems that when there is nothing to do, he still needs to collect more elixir recipes and alchemy books, otherwise the next time he gets a treasure, it will be wasted in vain. Chapter 5804. Ho Guanxi sighed again and said, it's more than just excellent. Your spiritual awareness grass roots can be divided into at least 30 or 40 portions of spirit tempering pill's main material. If you directly use these spiritual awareness grass roots to quench your divine sense, then after refining the spirit tempering pill, there will be at least 50 to 60% of the effect. You should be able to understand the difference, right? Lin Yi was suddenly shocked. He knew how many spiritual awareness grass roots he had wasted. Although there were still a lot of spiritual awareness grass roots in the space of the jade pendant, it was inevitable that he would feel some pain. Ho Guanxi said that there were 30 or 40 portions of materials here, then the Shenong cauldron could at least refine 40 or 50 spirit tempering pills. Wouldn't the effect be even stronger? However, thinking that without the spiritual awareness grass roots to quench his divine sense, he would not be able to integrate it so smoothly in the ancient small Jianghu, his heart calmed down a lot. Anyway, there were so many spiritual awareness grass roots, it didn't matter if he used some. One more point is the most important. Directly using the spiritual awareness grass roots to quench the divine sense is a very painful thing. Brother Lin, I really admire you for being able to persist. If you use the spirit tempering pill, this pain can be reduced at least 10 times. Ho Guanxi gave a thumbs up to Lin Yi, apparently really admired Lin Yi for being able to endure such pain. Lin Yi suddenly did not know whether to laugh or cry, really uncultured, really terrible. It turned out that the pain of quenching the divine sense could be completely avoided. He thought that it was necessary to experience it in order to become stronger, but the result was not the case at all. Ho Guanxi calmed his mood and handed the jade box to Lin Yi and said, Brother Lin, this thing is too precious. It is not worth exchanging it for the mountain-gazing stone, you should keep it. Even if you want to exchange, 1/10 of the size is enough. Lin Yi did not take the jade box and directly pushed it back and said, Brother Ho, you can keep it. If you can exchange it for the mountain gazing stone, if there are any extra, consider it a gift from me to Brother Ho. If Brother Ho can help me find the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill, that would be even better. Since Ho Guanxi could know about the spirit tempering pill, it was very likely that he had seen the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill. Lin Yi still had so many spiritual awareness grassroots in his hands. Instead of throwing them in the jade pendant space, it would be better to find a way to refine the spirit tempering pill. Compared to the mountain gazing pill, the purifying spirit pill was probably more popular. If Ho Guanxi could find the recipe for it, he wouldn't care about the mountain gazing stone. When Ho Guanxi heard that Lin Yi wanted the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill, he immediately understood that he still had some spiritual awareness grassroots on him. Otherwise, what was the use of the pill recipe? Since Lin Yi still had the spiritual awareness grassroots, Ho Guanxi was no longer polite. He really wanted the spiritual awareness grassroots in this jade box. The key was that the difficulty of refining the spirit tempering pill was not high. At most he had just entered the yellow grade 7th grade. He could barely try to refine it. Brother Lin, then this big brother will not be polite. The pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill, we have it in the pill hall. You can exchange it with contribution points, because the spiritual awareness grass is extinct on the Heaven Stage Island, so the exchange rate is not high. You wait a moment, I will immediately go and get the mountain gazing stone and the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill for you. Ho Guanxi put away the jade box and immediately stood up and said to Lin Yi. In exchange for the mountain gazing stone, Ho Guanxi was not prepared to use the spiritual awareness grassroots. This thing was too precious. He would rather use his other spiritual grass to exchange for it. As for the slightly illegal place, he did not care much about it, but now he did not care about it. Lin Yi thanked Ho Guanxi and watched Ho Guanxi leave in a hurry. He originally wanted to say that he did not want the mountain gazing stone, he just needed the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill. Anyway, refining the spirit tempering pill would be enough to raise enough funds, but after thinking about it, the mountain gazing pill would be used sooner or later. If he did not refine it, it would be better to keep it for his own use, so he did not say anything. After waiting for half an hour or so, Ho Guanxi walked in quickly and handed a small jade box to Lin Yi with a smile on his face. There was also a pill recipe made of parchment paper. Brother Lin, this is the mountain gazing stone and the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill. It's a pity that with my authority, I can only exchange for a mountain gazing stone, otherwise I would have given both to you. Ho Guanxi said with some embarrassment. The spiritual awareness grassroot made him feel that he had taken a big advantage. Lin Yi did not care, but he could not ignore it. Brother Ho, don't say that. With the mountain gazing stone and the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill, you have already helped me a lot. Well, you go ahead and sort it out. I also have to go back and sort it out. See you on the ship. Lin Yi got what he wanted and immediately got up to leave. This time he just planned to ask. He did not expect that not only did he get a mountain gazing stone, but also accidentally got the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill. Lin Yi could not wait to go back and try it. If he could really refine the spirit tempering pill, Lin Yi was ready to leave a part of it for Tian Chan and Sydney, so that they could also temper their spiritual awareness. Unfortunately, apart from the Heaven's Fortune battle art, he did not have any spiritual awareness cultivation method suitable for them to cultivate. Otherwise, with the spirit tempering pill, they would be able to get twice the result with half the effort. Okay, then we will see you on the ship in the evening. Take care. Ho Guanxi sent Lin Yi to the door, waved goodbye, turned to pack up his luggage, and then prepared to study the refining of the spirit tempering pill. Of course, Ho Guanxi did not have the heaven-defying function of Lin Yi's Shinong Cauldron, and now there was no way to refine the pill. He could only study it first, and after boarding the ship, he would try to refine the spirit tempering pill. It was estimated that the time to go to the extreme North Island should be enough for him to refine it once or twice. Lin Yi originally wanted to go to the Five Elements Commerce to visit Kai Zhongyang, and let him also collect the materials and pill recipe of the profound grade 1 pill, but now it was not necessary. With the pill recipe of the spirit tempering pill, plus the large spiritual awareness grass root in his hand, he certainly did not need to go to Kai Zhongyang now. It was not too late to collect it after boarding the ship. Back to the Tiandan pavilion, Lin Yi and Tian Chan and Sydney greeted each other, then returned to the room again to start refining the pill. After taking out the Shinnon cauldron and entering the formula of the spirit tempering pill, the automatic alchemy system began to generate the alchemy script. The best ratio was to refine 4 sets of materials at the same time, and it was estimated that 5 pills could be refined. In addition to the spiritual awareness grass root, the rest of the auxiliary spirit grasses Lin Yi had reserves, so there was no problem in this regard. Taking out a thumb-thick spiritual awareness grass root, Lin Yi put the rest of the spirit grasses together into the Shinnon cauldron, and began to condense the pill fire to refine the spirit tempering pill. However, to Lin Yi's surprise, this time the alchemy only started for 5 minutes, and was declared a failure. Chapter 5805. Fortunately, the system analyzed the reason for the failure and told Lin Yi, the refinement of the spirit cleansing pill requires the combination of the spirit cleansing flame and chi refinement flame. Generating new refinement script. Please wait a moment, Lin Yi bro. It required the spirit cleansing flame and chi refinement flame to be used together? Lin Yi was speechless. If that was the case, then wouldn't he be the only one on Sky Class Island who could concoct the spirit cleansing pill? Even Zhang Liju wouldn't be able to conjure the spirit cleansing pill, right? But it was hard to say for this cheap Shifu of his, who knew he might have some miraculous abilities. Speaking of which, he should remind Ho Guanqi so that he wouldn't waste the spirit grass root, but Lin Yi knew that he wouldn't be able to concoct the pill today, so he wasn't in a rush. He'd tell him when he got on the boat, and he'd also tell him and Kai Zhongyang how to conjure the spirit cleansing pill fire. 2 minutes later, the new refinement script was generated, and Lin Yi cleaned out the residue in the Shinnon cauldron and put in the 4 portions of the spirit cleansing pill ingredients. He then started to multitask, injecting pure qi into the cauldron and the spirit cleansing pill with the other. Thanks to the experience of conjuring the super refinement flame bomb, Lin Yi was able to multitask easily. He followed the instructions of the system and alternated the 2 types of energy. Of course, most of the time, he had to use both pure qi and spirit cleansing at the same time. In terms of difficulty, it was even harder than concocting a mystic class pill like the earth solid pill. Lin Yi estimated that even if Ho Guanqi learned how to conjure the spirit cleansing pill fire, he might not be able to concoct the spirit cleansing pill. Although this pill was classified as a golden class 7th level pill, that was an ancient classification. With the current difficulty, it wouldn't be strange to say that it was a mystic class 2nd level pill. Besides, the most important thing was that Ho Guanqi learning how to conjure the spirit cleansing pill fire now was the same as starting from 0. Ding! 7 soul tempering pills have been obtained, 2 more than expected. All of them are of the highest quality. Analyzing the reason, Lin Yi was overjoyed. He originally thought that after the first failure, the new script would need to be tested a few more times before it could be perfected. Who knew that he would directly produce a super perfect pill refinement? Not only was the quality of all the pills unique, but even the quantity was 2 more than the original estimate. The analysis of the cause of the abnormality is complete. Due to the fact that the main ingredient used is of a higher grade, an overflow occurred. If the main ingredient of the same grade is used in the next pill refinement, the amount used can be reduced by half, or the amount of supplementary ingredients can be doubled. I see. I understand now. Lin Yi nodded and whispered, he really understood. In the soul tempering pill recipe, the main material was actually the spiritual consciousness grass, but Lin Yi directly used the spiritual consciousness grass root. It would be strange if there was no overflow. In fact, it was a waste of the spiritual qi of the spiritual sense grass root. If it was divided into 2 alchemy, that piece of spiritual sense grass root should be able to produce 10 pills. But it didn't matter, Lin Yi didn't have much, but he had a lot of spiritual sense grass roots. Immediately taking out the jade bottle, he put away the 6 soul tempering pills, and then left one and swallowed it directly. Before giving it to Tian Chan and Sydney, Lin Yi must try it himself first, so that if there was any problem, it would be too late to regret it. The pill still had the warmth of the freshly refined pill, and after entering Lin Yi's mouth, it turned into a warm current flowing into his abdomen, and then rose to his knowledge sea and began to temper Lin Yi's spiritual sense. After experiencing the painful tempering of the spiritual sense grass root, the soul tempering pill was simply gentle like a lover's caress. In a short period of time, Lin Yi's spiritual sense seemed to have condensed a little, and there was no side effect. Lin Yi really wanted to cry but had no tears. If he had this pill recipe earlier, he wouldn't have to suffer so much. But then again, if Han Jingjing hadn't upgraded the automatic alchemy system, and included the spiritual sense pill flame, even if Lin Yi had the pill recipe, he might not have been able to refine the soul tempering pill. Good stuff. The soul tempering pill is really a good thing. If I take it out to auction, I don't believe it won't sell for a good price. Lin Yi opened his eyes, smiled to himself, and then began to refine the soul tempering pill again. This time, he reduced the amount of spiritual sense grass root by half, and sure enough, he refined 5 pills, and they were still of special quality. The Shinnom cauldron with the automatic alchemy system was so heaven-defying. After refining 3 batches of soul tempering pills in a row, Lin Yi stopped. 16 special quality soul tempering pills, with the strength of Tian Chan and Sydney's spiritual sense, it was enough for them to cultivate for 2 or 3 months. When he returned from the extreme North Island, he would give them some more. Seeing that there was still some time before dark, and Kai Zhongyang had not come to inform him that he could board the ship, Lin Yi simply took out the mountain-gazing stone and prepared to refine the mountain-gazing pill. Lin Yi was not in a hurry to refine this kind of pill, but Ho Guanqi still needed to have a mountain-gazing pill, so he still wanted to refine it as soon as possible and hand it over to Ho Guanqi. After the failure of the spirit tempering pill, the automatic alchemy system began to automatically include the divine sense alchemy fire and the true qi alchemy fire into the scope of calculation when analyzing the alchemy recipe and forming the alchemy script. Therefore, there were actually 2 alchemy fire refining methods for this mountain-gazing pill. In other words, both the spiritual sense pill fire and the true qi pill fire could be used to refine this kind of pill. It all depended on which one to choose. Anyway, the result was the same. In this regard, Lin Yi did not care. Anyway, he was already used to using true qi and spiritual sense. Either one was fine, it was just that using true qi was easier. When the sky was dark, the mountain-gazing pill was finally refined successfully. Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised to find that although it was his first time refining the mountain-gazing pill, in the end, there were actually 9 pills, and all of them were top-grade mountain-gazing pills of special quality. No one would believe it if he said it out. Originally, the script expected 7 pills, which made Lin Yi very happy. After all, a mountain-gazing stone was only a little more than 5 pills, but in the end, it almost doubled. This was probably because of the 2 alchemy fire refining methods, which made the efficacy of the pills more perfectly fused together. In a happy mood, Lin Yi put away the mountain-gazing pill, cleaned up the Shinnom cauldron, and did not continue refining pills. Instead, he went to Han Jingjing's room. Han Jingjing was still the same, nothing had changed. Lin Yi looked at her calm face and smiled. Jingjing, thanks to your automatic alchemy system, I don't have to worry about not having enough spiritual jades to buy the spirit gathering branch. Last time you went to Earth to save me, this time, let me save you. I will be back soon. Lin Yi smiled and said, Jingjing, thanks to your automatic alchemy system, I don't have to worry about not having enough spiritual jades to buy the spirit gathering branch. Last time you went to Earth to save me, this time, let me save you. Chapter 5806. I will. Lin Yi nodded and said solemnly. He then took out the jade bottle containing the spirit tempering pills and said, Here are 16 spirit tempering pills. You and Sydney will each have half. It can be used to temper one's spirit. Spirit tempering pill? You actually concocted the spirit tempering pill? Tian Chan raised her head and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. It was evident that she had heard of what the spirit tempering pill was. Lin Yi immediately blushed. Even Tian Chan knew about the spirit tempering pill, but he had never heard of it. He was really too ignorant. In fact, Tian Chan had only read about it in the Alchemy Hall's records. This was the importance of inheritance. If Lin Yi could stay by Zhang Liju's side, his knowledge wouldn't be as limited as it was now. Of course, his achievements wouldn't be as high as they were now. There are 2 more mountain gazing pills. Give one to Tian Bro. Although he won't be able to use it now, he will be able to use it in the future. As for the other one, put it in the shop and sell it as the treasure of the shop. Lin Yi didn't explain about the spirit tempering pill. He just gave the 2 mountain gazing pills to Tian Chan. The will of heaven practiced the creation arts that Lin Yi had helped him modify. He should be able to improve very quickly in the future. With 1 mountain gazing pill, he might be able to enter the opening mountain phase very soon. As for the other one, it could make Tiandan Pavilion's reputation skyrocket again. Although it wouldn't be able to make up for the loss of the past 2 years, it could at least restore some of the popularity. Tian Chan didn't ask much about the pills. She put them away and hugged Lin Yi and said, "The other things aren't important. It's good that you are safe. Remember to come back soon." "I will." Lin Yi smiled and reached out to hug Tian Chan's soft body. He then saw Shueli poking her head out of the door to look at them. He waved at Shueli, asking her to come over. She was a bit shy at first, but she quickly came over. Evidently, she knew that he was going to the extreme North Island soon, and she wouldn't be able to see him for a while. She didn't want to miss any chance. Tian Chan, on the other hand, was generous. She pulled Shueli into his arms, giving him the rare feeling of hugging someone left and right. Kai Zhongyang's men were still waiting downstairs, and Lin Yi didn't waste any more time. After a simple goodbye, he grabbed his luggage and went downstairs. As soon as he went out, he saw Wei Shenjin rushing over. He waved his hand and said, "Boss, the fleet is here. We can go over." "I'm going over. Let's go together." Lin Yi nodded to Wei Shenjin and followed the people sent by Kai Zhongyang to the dock. It didn't take long for them to see the outline of a huge treasure ship docked at the Middle Island's dock. There were many people loading and unloading goods. One side was unloading goods, and the other side was loading goods. Although it was busy, it was carried out in an orderly manner. Lin Yi looked at it. There were a total of 5 ships docked. In addition to the 4 large treasure ships, there was also a very familiar ancient warship. After sweeping it with his divine sense, he saw an old acquaintance, Okuda Ba, looking at the busy crowd on the dock. Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang were beside Okuda Ba, chatting and laughing with him. Perhaps it was because of the relationship between Okuda Ba and Lin Yi, they seemed to have a good relationship. When Lin Yi's divine sense swept over, the 3 people seemed to have noticed his arrival. They all moved to the entrance of the ancient warship and waited for him. Obviously, Lin Yi was very important to them. After knowing that they were waiting for him, Lin Yi also sped up. Soon, he saw them. He immediately smiled and cupped his fists, saying, "Captain Okuda, long time no see. We finally meet again. Brother Lin, you're treating me like an outsider." "What captain?" "You're my honorary vice-captain here." Okuda Ba laughed and walked forward quickly. He directly gave Lin Yi a firm hug, fully showing the forthright nature of a man at sea. Lin Yi smiled and said, "It's my fault. Brother Okuda, please forgive me. Why are you sending us to the northernmost island this time? Brother Ho and Brother Kai are not good friends. You have been hiding it from me." Kai Zhongyang laughed and said, "I want to give you a surprise, Lin brothers. Captain Okuda has been to Nakajima several times. He has been asking about you. I think you will be very happy to see him, right?" Lin Yi now knew that Okuda Ba had come to see him several times in the past 2 years. This was not easy. Previously, Okuda Ba was not willing to go to Nakajima. It was enough to show his hospitality to visit him several times in the past 2 years. "I am indeed very happy. Also, thank you, Brother Okuda, for your concern." Lin Yi remembered this favor in his heart. When there is a chance, he will definitely return it. "Alright, let's go up and talk. Okuda-ba, don't entertain guests here. Okuda-ba was in a good mood. He pulled Lin Yi's hand and called everyone to board the ship. The ships on the side were busy loading and unloading cargo. Only Okuda-ba's ancient warship didn't load or unload anything. It was just replenishing some of the materials needed at sea. Lin Yi's heart slightly moved. He asked with a smile, "Brother Okuda, could it be that you have already built a fleet? These 4 enormous ships are all under your command?" When Okuda-ba heard Lin Yi's question, a proud expression appeared on his face. He immediately waved his hand and said, "No, among these 4 giant ships, only 2 are mine. The other 2 are my companions. They asked me to escort them along the way. Although my dream is to build an invincible fleet, these 2 treasured ships are far from being a fleet. It's just a small fleet. Brother Okuda is too modest. How long has it been? You already have 2 giant ships. In a few years, you will definitely be able to build an invincible fleet." Kai Zhongyang complimented from the side. However, what he said was the truth. To be able to add 2 giant ships in 2 years without relying on the Okuda clan behind him, Okuda-ba's ability was definitely very powerful. However, after Okuda-ba and Okuda-ba reunited 2 years ago, no one knew whether Okuda-ba helped him in the dark. But thinking about it, it was obvious that he had contributed. "Thank you for your auspicious words." Okuda-ba couldn't conceal the happiness on his face. Obviously, Kai Zhongyang had hit the nail on the head. Lin Yi also praised him. Indeed, there were more giant ships on the Heaven Stage Island than ancient warships. However, they weren't cabbages that could be casually found. It was already not easy for Okuda-ba to add 2 giant ships in 2 years. To be continued. Chapter 5807. This time, the precious items of Middle Island's various families have been brought to the warship, and the ordinary ones have been placed on my 2 treasure ships. Of course, there are also many of my own goods. It's very tiring to maintain these 3 ships. If I don't transport my own goods, I won't even have enough food for my subordinates. Okuda-ba said with a smile, but he didn't look tired at all. Instead, he looked very happy. Lin Yi understood as well. Okuda Dam's ancient warships usually didn't carry cargo, and were used as a military force. This time, however, there were a lot of guests with high statuses in Nakajima, and so they were allowed to bring their most precious items on the warship. Of course, the safety of the giant treasure ships was very high, but compared to the ancient warship, it was not worth mentioning at all. The people of Middle Island with high status were all important customers of Okuda-ba. As long as there was no special reason, they would definitely choose to take the ancient warship. As soon as they arrived on the deck, Lin Yi saw a group of people from the Hong Chamber of Commerce also boarding the ship. Although he wasn't familiar with the people from the Hong Chamber of Commerce, he was still the honorary vice president, after all. He had to go and greet them. "Brother Okuda, I'll go and greet the people from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. You guys go in first, I'll be there in a while." Lin Yi greeted Okuda-ba and the others, then walked to the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Originally, Lin Yi wasn't interested in this kind of thing, but Hong Zhong was his best friend. For his sake, Lin Yi should go and greet him, especially since Lin Yi wanted to know how Hong Zhong was doing recently. "This is Vice President Wei of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, right? I'm Lin Yi, we should have met before." Lin Yi smiled and greeted him with cupped fists. This time, there weren't many acquaintances in the Hong Chamber of Commerce, but Lin Yi had indeed met Vice President Wei 2 years ago. However, they didn't have much interaction, and he didn't even know his name. There was no friendship between them at all. If it weren't for such a familiar person, Lin Yi might not have come. Vice Chairman Wei glanced at Lin Yi indifferently. He didn't even look at him as he cupped his fists and said indifferently, "I'm Wei Jiating." "What's the matter?" Lin Yi was slightly startled. Could it be that this Wei Jiating didn't know him? Logically speaking, it was impossible. Even if Lin Yi had not appeared for 2 years, on Middle Island, there were probably not many people who did not know of Lin Yi's name, not to mention that he was the honorary vice president of the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Taking a step back, even if Wei Jieding didn't know who Lin Yi was, as the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce, how could he put on such an expression on the ancient battleship of Okuda Dam? Didn't they know that those who were able to board this ancient battleship wouldn't have simple identities? Did the Hong Chamber of Commerce still want to do business? Vice President Wei, could it be that you don't recognize me? The smile on Lin Yi's face also disappeared. He wasn't used to sticking his warm face to someone else's cold butt. If it weren't for Hong Zhong's sake, he would have left in a huff. I know you are the honorary vice president, Lin Yi. If there's anything, just say it. Wei Jieding was still expressionless as he spoke. What surprised Lin Yi was that Wei Jieding clearly knew him, yet he still acted like this. It seemed that something had happened in the Hong Chamber of Commerce. Could it be that something had happened to Hong Zhong? Lin Yi was secretly shocked. He knew that even if he continued to ask Wei Jieding, there wouldn't be any results. Hence, he simply nodded and glanced at Wei Jieding indifferently. He didn't even bother to say a word and directly turned to leave. Seeing Lin Yi's expression, Wei Jieding's eyes flashed with some surprise. It seemed that he didn't expect Lin Yi to leave without saying a word. Previously, when he saw him greeting him with a warm smile, Wei Jieding thought that he was a person who could be easily bullied. It seemed that was not the case. However, Wei Jieding didn't care. It was just an honorary vice president. He might have some weight in the outside world, but in front of the vice president of the headquarters in Middle Island, he was nothing. Lin Yi walked towards Okuda Ba and the others with a gloomy expression. Lin Yi didn't care about people like Wei Jieding. He was worried about Hong Zhong now. If nothing happened, with Hong Zhong's status in the Hong Chamber of Commerce, probably no one would be disrespectful to him, the honorary vice president. Okuda Ba and the others didn't leave but waited for Lin Yi. They were all very surprised to see this scene. In Middle Island, other than the medicine sect, there was actually someone who wouldn't give Lin Yi face. Moreover, it was someone from the Hong Chamber of Commerce. It was really unexpected. Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang were still fine, but Okuda Ba was considering if he should directly chase the people from the Hong Chamber of Commerce off the ancient battleship. However, he was also a businessman now. Before Lin Yi said anything, it was best to wait and see. Of course, he had to show his attitude. Brother Lin, what's going on with Wei Jieding? Okuda Ba frowned and asked Lin Yi, who was walking over. As long as Lin Yi said it, he would definitely chase Wei Jieding and the others away. Although he didn't say it explicitly, he believed that Lin Yi understood what he meant. Lin Yi waved his hand and said with a faint smile, "It's nothing. He's just an irrelevant person. We don't need to care about him." That's right, that's right. There's no need to care about ordinary people. Let's go and have a drink together. Okuda Ba smiled. Since Lin Yi said this, it saved him from being in a difficult position. Naturally, his mood was much better. However, he remembered Wei Jieding. As long as he had a proper reason, Okuda Ba wouldn't be polite to him. As they were talking, a flying spirit beast directly flew over from the sky above Middle Island and quickly landed on the deck of the ancient battleship. If it was in the past, the people on the ancient battleship would have already surrounded the person. However, Okuda Ba was a businessman now, so of course, he wouldn't do such a thing. On Middle Island, flying spirit beasts were generally prohibited. Except for a small number of people at the top who had this privilege, ordinary people would be courting death if they dared to fly. Now that someone directly flew from the inland direction of Middle Island to Okuda Ba's ancient battleship, it was obvious that the person's identity was noble. Okuda Ba only took a glance at the person on the flying spirit beast and didn't have any intention of greeting him. The acting island master of Middle Island was his second brother. Except for people like Lin Yi, who he thought highly of, there weren't many people who were worthy of him greeting personally. Even if it was to do business, he wouldn't deliberately cater to others. Chapter 5808. The other person was someone Lin Yi knew, Zheng Dongjue of House Zheng. As the vice head of the Pill Hall, he was accompanying this classical beauty. One could see how noble this girl's identity was. Other than the two of them, there was a young man on the flying spirit beast. His looks were passable, but he was smiling and talking to the girl attentively. It made people have a bad impression of him. "Brother Ho, is this someone from the Pill Hall?" Lin Yi put aside his worry for Hong Zhong and asked curiously. It wasn't the first time he came to the Middle Island, but he had never heard of someone like this in the Pill Hall. She could actually ride a flying spirit beast and have Zheng Dongjue by her side. Ho Guanqi introduced softly, "That's right, she's called Li Zhaoyi, the head refiner of the Pill Hall. The head isn't here, so her skills are the strongest. Although I don't know who her master is, she is indeed very talented. Brother Lin, your skills are quite strong as well, but to put it bluntly, you might not be able to compare to Master Li." Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't mind. If he lost the Shinnon Cauldron, his skills wouldn't be comparable to Li Zhaoyi's. Anyone who could make elixirs would be better than him. There really wasn't much to say in this regard. But this girl was the head refiner of the Hall of Elixirs. Lin Yi couldn't help but be surprised when he heard that. Although he didn't count Zhang Liju as his master, there were still quite a number of refiners in the Hall of Elixirs. Being able to get the title of head refiner meant that this girl with a weird name had real skills. Looking at her age, she should be even younger than Lin Yi. There really were geniuses everywhere. Alchemist Li's identity is very mysterious. A few years ago, he suddenly appeared in the Dan Hall and became the chief alchemist of our Dan Hall in one fell swoop. After that, he went into closed-door cultivation to refine pills for a long period of time. Normally, he would not even be able to see his figure, and I wonder what level his pill refining ability has reached. Ho Guanqi obviously admired this little beauty, Li Zhaoyi. When he talked about her, his face was full of admiration. Kai Zhongyang also echoed, "Yes, I have also heard of Li Zhaoyi's name." This time she was able to participate in the auction of the extreme North Island. She must have taken a fancy to something. Among the first auction items that were revealed, there were indeed several top-grade alchemy materials. Lin Yi shrugged his shoulders. He did not care much about alchemy, as long as they did not compete with him for the Gathering God branch and Soul Wood. As for Li Zhaoyi's strong alchemy ability, he did not care. In the cultivation world, strength was respected, regardless of gender. The same was true for alchemy. For example, Han Jingjing's talent was definitely not worse than Li Zhaoyi's. Let's go have a chat and drink. It's better than standing here in the wind." Okuda Ba greeted everyone with a smile. He knew that Lin Yi did not have a good impression of Zheng Dongjue, and they were even enemies with deep hatred, so he was too lazy to care about Li Zhaoyi and her group. Since they did not have a good relationship, he would just mind his own business. Although as the captain of the ancient warship, Okuda Ba should show a neutral and peaceful attitude to maintain a transcendent force field, Lin Yi was his honorary vice-captain. He was definitely one of them. Of course, others could do whatever they wanted. Although Ho Guanqi was also a member of the Pill Hall, he had always been at odds with Zheng Dongjue. Normally, when he saw Li Zhaoyi coming out of seclusion, he would go over to greet her. However, with Zheng Dongjue there, Ho Guanqi pretended not to see it. Okuda Ba brought Lin Yi, Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and Wei Shunjin to his four-person banquet hall. Someone had already prepared exquisite food, and the five of them sat down casually to eat. When Lin Yi saw the food, he thought of Languza. If this guy was here, he would probably sweep away everything again. He did not know if he was nearby, or if he had already entered the sea near Middle Island and waited for the ship here to set off before catching up. By the way, Brother Kai, Brother Ho, this time, there seems to be a lot of big shots at the auction on Extreme North Island. I have been there once before, but I did not see many big shots there. Lin Yi took a sip of the wine brewed with spirit fruit and asked Kai Zhongyang and Ho Guanqi casually. Kai Zhongyang smiled and said, "Indeed, the scale of this time is relatively large." "Well, It should be said that it is the largest auction on Extreme North Island in the past 10 years. The reason is that many precious treasures came out of Dongzhou, such as the Spirit Gathering Branch and the Soul Wood. Speaking of which, these two things are not the most precious treasures this time. Ho Guanqi also nodded with a smile and said, because there are so many good things, this time the auction on Extreme North Island is quite sensational. Every family has also taken out their more precious collections to participate in the auction, so the level of this auction has increased by several levels. For example, in the past, the elixirs of the foundation establishment stage could be the main auction item, but this year, it is estimated that ordinary auction items can't even be auctioned, and can only be traded in the periphery. Lin Yi deeply believed that the last time he went with Hong Zhong, because they were plotted against by the opponents of the Hong Chamber of Commerce, causing them to lose the auction items they prepared on the way. It was he who continuously refined more than 100 top-grade elixirs of the foundation establishment stage that let Hong Zhong escape the disaster. At that time, the elixirs were all for the foundation establishment stage, belonging to the 4th level of the yellow level, but it was already very rare to be auctioned. But this time, it is estimated that only the elixirs of the 6th level of the yellow level and above are qualified to enter the auction. Speaking of elixirs, Lin Yi remembered about the restrictions of the spirit-quenching pill, so he said to Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang, Brother Ho, Brother Kai, this time I learned a method of using divine sense to condense elixir fire in the small ancient Jianghu. The alchemists there all use the divine sense elixir fire to refine elixirs. I don't know if you have heard of it. There is such an elixir fire? I have never heard of it. Ho Guanqi said in surprise. Although he hadn't started refining the spirit-quenching pill yet, he had studied it a few times and felt that something wasn't right. Now that he heard Lin Yi talk about the divine sense elixir fire, he finally understood. Kai Zhongyang may be the vice president of the 5 Elements Commerce, but he was also Zhang Liju's disciple in name. He asked with interest, this type of divine sense elixir fire sounds very interesting. If Brother Lin doesn't mind, why don't you show it to us? Of course not. Lin Yi smiled and reached out his left hand, using his divine sense to condense an elixir fire. Although Okuda Ba and Wei Shinjin didn't know much about elixir refining, they were very curious when they saw the divine sense elixir fire. Chapter 5809. Lin Yi's heart moved slightly. He seemed to have grasped something, but before he could think about it, Ho Guanqi opened his mouth and asked, Brother Lin, this method of condensing the pill flame, can you teach it to us? Normally, this kind of thing was not something an ordinary person could casually mention. Any method of condensing a pill flame, if one wanted to obtain it, there was a price to pay. However, Ho Guanqi's relationship with Lin Yi was not ordinary. Even the spiritual sense grass root could be casually given to him, so a trivial method of condensing a pill flame, he estimated that he would not keep it to himself. Moreover, Ho Guanqi had already felt that the pill flame was the key to refining the soul-tempering pill. If he could not master the pill flame, it was estimated that the spiritual sense grass root in his hands could only be used directly. Lin Yi said that he wanted to teach them, and Ho Guanqi could see this point clearly, so without saying anything, he taught them the method of condensing the pill flame. As for Ao Tianba and Wei Shinjin, if they wanted to learn it, there was no problem. He was afraid that they would not be interested. After teaching, Lin Yi slowly drank the spirit fruit wine alone, letting the 4 of them ponder the method of condensing the pill flame. Unfortunately, after half an hour, there was no progress or gain. The first to give up was Wei Shinjin, then Ao Tianba, Kai Zhongyang persisted for a while, and finally Ho Guanqi, who was unwilling to give up. Brother Lin, the strength of my spiritual sense is too weak. It seems that there is no way to successfully condense this pill flame. Ho Guanqi shook his head helplessly. He clearly knew that without the pill flame, he could not refine the soul-tempering pill. Unfortunately, his spiritual sense really could not condense the pill flame, unless he used a lot of soul-tempering pills to temper the strength of his spiritual sense. However, if one's divine sense wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to condense a pill fire to refine the soul-tempering pill. This was simply an unsolvable cycle, Lin Yi could sense that the strength of divine sense of Hou Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang was only about the same as the cultivators who had just built their foundation in the remote ancient Jianghu. It was indeed too difficult for them to condense the divine sense elixir fire. Even if they succeeded, it would not be of much use, because the strength of their divine sense was not enough to support the concoction of a furnace of elixirs. Senior brother, this kind of spiritual sense alchemic fire is a relatively useless thing for us. Don't worry too much about it. Anyway, it's not of much use. Kai Zhongyang said indifferently. He did not know that Hou Guanqi wanted to use the spiritual sense alchemic fire to refine the soul-tempering pill. For him, the spiritual sense alchemic fire really did not have much meaning. Hou Guanqi shook his head and did not say anything. The matter of the spiritual sense grassroots was related to Lin Yi. Unless he said it himself, Hou Guanqi would not leak any information about it. As for the matter of the soul-tempering pill, naturally the fewer people who knew about it, the better. Regarding this situation, Lin Yi also had no way to deal with it. Even if he refined the soul-tempering pill, it was impossible to provide it to Hou Guanqi without limit. There were too many people close to him. Even if he had more spiritual sense grassroots, it would not be enough. The cultivators of the Heaven Stage Island looked down on the cultivation of spiritual sense too much. This situation was something that Lin Yi could not change. Generally, the cultivators here would only start to pay attention to the cultivation of spiritual sense after reaching the giant realm. Only those like the West Mountain Old Ancestor, who mainly used spiritual sense attack as their main means, would continue to cultivate spiritual sense cultivation method. In contrast, the cultivation method of the ancient small Jianghu was better. If it was not for the restrictions of the ancient small Jianghu, their strength might have already surpassed the Heaven Stage Island. Since no one could successfully refine the spiritual sense alchemic fire, Lin Yi no longer mentioned this matter. Okuda Ba also consciously changed the topic and talked about many interesting things he saw at sea. The atmosphere slowly became lively. For Okuda Ba, whether Lin Yi was a profound level 1 alchemist or not was not important. What he valued was Lin Yi's strength at sea and future development potential. If possible, Okuda Ba did not mind letting Lin Yi become a real vice-captain or even a real captain of a ship. After chatting for a while, Lin Yi and the others got up to leave and prepared to return to their rooms to settle down. Okuda Ba still had things to deal with, so he did not personally send them over. Instead, he arranged for someone to lead the way. With the status of Lin Yi in the others, Okuda Ba naturally arranged the highest level rooms for them. Wei Shinjin's status was slightly lower, but because of Lin Yi's light, he was also arranged to be next to him. When they came to the door, Lin Yi handed a jade bottle to Wei Shinjin and said, "Go back to your room and immediately refine it. The things in your body will disappear and become your true qi. What you do in the future is up to you." Wei Shinjin was slightly startled and immediately knew what it was. He excitedly took it with both hands and bowed to thank Lin Yi. "Thank you for the medicine, boss. In the future, Wei Shinjin will still follow boss, even if I have to go through water and tread on fire, I will not hesitate." Lin Yi nodded and said, "All right, you go in first, come find me later." "Yes, boss." Wei Shinjin respectfully bowed and left. After entering his room, he immediately swallowed the medicine in the jade bottle. Seeing that Wei Shinjin had been loyal for the past 2 years, Lin Yi directly cut off the heart-devouring insect in his body this time, and let him completely refine the heart-devouring insect, increasing part of his cultivation. After the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, a refreshed Wei Shinjin knocked on the wooden door of Lin Yi's room, and after getting permission, he walked in with a beaming face. "Boss." Wei Shinjin cupped his fists and bowed. He didn't say any more words of thanks, and just stood respectfully at the side. Lin Yi pointed to a chair and said, "Sit down and talk, no need to be restrained." Speaking of which, Lin Yi and Wei Shinjin didn't have much contact. In the beginning, Wei Shinjin was also forced to rely on Lin Yi, and the two actually didn't talk much, so they weren't familiar. This time, when you go to the extreme North Island, is there anything you want to buy? Lin Yi casually asked. It was considered as a topic of conversation. Wei Shenjin quickly shook his head and said, no, the level of this auction is too high. There is basically nothing I can participate in bidding for. Maybe I can find some suitable things in the trading market outside. I will look at it when the time comes. Oh, Lin Yi said, to be honest, he really didn't know how to chat with people. After thinking about it, he said, if you don't have enough spirit jades, just tell me, I still have a lot here. Thank you, boss, I have enough on me, if not, I will not be polite, Wei Shenjin said flatteringly. It seemed like he didn't expect Lin Yi to say these words to him. Chapter 58:10. Lin Yi burst into laughter. Wei Shenjin had finally walked out of the shadow of the past. That was good. Which family is she from? It's not enough to be her friend. It's rare to have such an opportunity. You must pursue her. Lin Yi reached out and patted Wei Shenjin's shoulder, showing his full support. She's the daughter of the vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Her name is Shang Yuhua. She's a real lady from a respectable family. She's gentle and beautiful. If I can get to know her, I'll be quite satisfied. Wei Shenjin had a gentle smile on his face. It seemed that he really fell in love. The question was, why did he say that he would be quite satisfied if he could get to know her? It turned out that this guy was totally in love with her. They didn't even know each other. Lin Yi felt that this guy still had a long way to go. Well, come on. Do you want me to give you some advice? Lin Yi just said it casually. He didn't expect that Wei Shenjin seemed to have been waiting for his words. After hearing it, he immediately nodded. Boss, it's great that you're willing to give me advice. With your help, I think it'll be very smooth. Wei Shenjin said with a little excitement, which made Lin Yi speechless. What's going on? Did Wei Shenjin plan to ask him for advice a long time ago? Thinking about it, it was really possible. In the past 2 years, Wei Shenjin had been helping in the Tiandan pavilion. Of course, he knew that the two stunning beauties, Tian Chan and Sydney, were both in love with Lin Yi. Later, Han Jingjing, Shangguan Laner, and it was said that there was also the little princess of West Island, Ning Xuefei. Boss Lin Yi was absolutely powerful in this aspect. He was Wei Shenjin's goal and idol. Now that he had a chance to ask for advice, of course, he wouldn't miss it. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. It seemed that he couldn't casually talk nonsense in the future. Wasn't this just looking for trouble for himself? If he had the time, it would be better to refine 2 more furnaces of pills. However, since he had already said it, Lin Yi could only be responsible to the end. After thinking for a while, he said, how about this? You don't know her yet, so the most important thing is to let her get to know you and have a good impression of you. After that, we can proceed to the next step of the plan. If you ask what's the next step? He was still thinking about it. Wei Shenjin nodded and said, Boss, you're right. We have to let her know me first. I know that the Universal Chamber of Commerce is also riding an ancient warship this time. Why don't we find her first? Lin Yi was also speechless. It was the middle of the night. Where could he find her location? If he had known earlier, he could have just asked Okuda Dam. The ancient warship had restrictions that blocked divine sense everywhere. So, although Lin Yi's divine sense was strong, it wasn't easy to find someone. In addition, he didn't know who Shang Yuhua was, so he couldn't find her even if he wanted to. Boss, why don't we go to the restaurant on the ship? Maybe we'll be able to see her. Wei Shenjin actively put forward his own suggestion. Lin Yi wanted to say that he would wait until tomorrow to find her, but he thought that it was his idea. Since Wei Shenjin wanted to take a look, then he would go and take a look. The two left the room and went to the small restaurant in the ancient warship's VIP cabin. Although it was expensive, there were quite a lot of people there. Along the way, they saw several people walking there. This was completely different from what Lin Yi thought. Is it because they just boarded the ship, so they can't sleep? Or is it because the food here is so delicious that they can't wait to come again tomorrow? After entering the restaurant, Lin Yi realized that he had underestimated the number of nobles in Middle Island. The ancient warship's VIP cabin wasn't for the rich. In other words, in this small restaurant for VIPs, all the people in Middle Island were famous people. Wei Shenjin took a deep breath. Seeing that the small restaurant was almost full, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. As a core disciple of the Snow Sword School, Wei Shenjin could barely be counted as one of the nobles of the Middle Island. However, compared to the people here, he was clearly at the lowest level. He could only be considered as barely qualified to enter this circle. "Boss, why don't we go back? There are so many people," Wei Shenjin said hesitantly. In front of so many people, it was really embarrassing for him to pursue Shang Yuhua. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Is the girl you like here?" "Yes," Wei Shenjin replied in a low voice with some embarrassment. Then, he glanced in a direction without anyone noticing. Lin Yi didn't turn his head to look. Instead, he used his divine sense to follow Wei Shenjin's gaze. If there was someone with the same divine sense as him, it would be very impolite and might even cause a conflict. However, Lin Yi already knew that Heaven's Stage Island was basically a divine sense desert. It was impossible to detect his divine sense without reaching the Magnate Realm. Even in the first two realms of the Magnate Realm, there wouldn't be anyone with a stronger divine sense than him, unless it was someone like Shishan Old Master who relied on his divine sense. Because of this, Lin Yi's divine sense easily found the table of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Although he didn't know the people of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, he still knew the logo of their Chamber of Commerce. There were a total of 5 people at the table. 2 of them were from the Universal Chamber of Commerce, and the other 3 were familiar with them. At this time, they were chatting happily. The 2 people from the Universal Chamber of Commerce were a man and a woman. The man was a middle-aged man dressed in brocade clothes. The woman was about 20 years old and wore a light yellow skirt. She should be the Shang Yuhua that Wei Shenjin liked. Her appearance and temperament were really good. Although she wasn't at the level of Tian Chan and Sydney, she was only slightly inferior. "You have a good eye. Okay, let's find a place to sit down first. I'll see if there is a chance for you to get to know each other later." Lin Yi still didn't look over there. He just looked around casually, as if he was looking for an empty seat. Then he whispered to Wei Shenjin. Wei Shenjin looked a little embarrassed. Although he was not very embarrassed, he had a little confidence in Lin Yi, the boss, to make the decision. "Over there. There are still empty seats at the table over there." Lin Yi pointed casually. There were indeed 2 empty seats between the 2 tables of Shang Yuhua and Lin Yi. Here, everyone's status was similar. It was normal to share a table. Eating was not the main point. Making friends was the most important thing. Of course, Wei Shenjin had no objection. The 2 empty seats were facing Shang Yuhua, and they were separated by 2 tables. It was a safe distance, just enough for him to peek at her secretly. It couldn't be better. Chapter 58:11. However, after Lin Yi sat down, he realized that he had seen the person sitting opposite him before. It was the chief alchemist of the Pill Hall, the genius girl, Li Zhaoyi. Li Zhaoyi noticed that there were 2 people sitting opposite her. She raised her head and glanced at them, but there was no change in expression on her delicate face. Lin Yi smiled slightly and nodded to her as a kind greeting. However, Li Zhaoyi had no intention of responding. After withdrawing her gaze, she continued to eat the food in front of her indifferently. Although Li Zhaoyi's appearance was more beautiful than Shang Yuhua's, Wei Shenjin, who was in the eye of the beholder, did not pay attention to her at all. He completely ignored her existence and just asked Lin Yi in a low voice, "Boss, what should we do next?" "Next, let's order something to eat first," Lin Yi said somewhat speechlessly. Wei Shenjin's expression and tone could easily make people misunderstand that they were going to do something bad. Fortunately, Li Xiaoyi seemed to be indifferent to everything around her. Otherwise, it would really be quite embarrassing. Wei Shenjin responded with an "oh" and quickly waved to the waiter in the VIP restaurant to come over to order. Lin Yi paid attention to what Li Xiaoyi was eating. They should all be things from the sea. A little meat, a little sea plants, and a drink brewed with spiritual fruit. These things contained rich spiritual energy fluctuations, which were obviously very beneficial to cultivators. It was no wonder that so many people came here to eat even though it was so late. Not only could they communicate with people of similar status, they could also enjoy delicious food, and they could also obtain the same effect of meditating and cultivating. Of course, this kind of place would attract many people. On the way to the extreme North Island, perhaps this was the most popular place. Of course, people like Li Xiaoyi would probably just come to taste something new, and then enter a state of closed-door alchemy. Therefore, this might be the only time they could encounter such a situation here. After ordering something casually, Wei Shenjin waved his hand to dismiss the waiter, and then asked again in a low voice, "Boss, what should we do next?" Lin Yi was really defeated by him. It seemed that the intelligence of a man who fell in love was infinitely close to zero. He was almost losing the ability to think for himself. Wait for the food to come up, yes, boss. As soon as Wei Shenjin finished speaking, he noticed a person walking over quickly and standing beside him. Before he could look up to see who it was, he heard the man say coldly, "Who are you two? Go away at once. This is this young master's seat." Lin Yi didn't even raise his eyes. He didn't want to pay attention to this guy at all. In his divine sense, he had already discovered that this guy was the young man who came with Li Xiaoyi and Jing Dongjue. If he had talked nicely with him, Lin Yi might have given up his position, but this condescending tone of command. Did he really think he was something? Lin Yi was too lazy to respond, but Wei Shenjin was unhappy. He was about to sneak a peek at Yuhua, but he was interrupted abruptly. He was a little shocked, so it would be strange if he had a good expression. "Your seat." "I'm sorry, I didn't see your name anywhere. I only know that this is a public place. Whoever sits down first gets the seat. Could it be that your butt is so big that you can occupy this place from a distance?" Wei Shenjin sneered mercilessly. His identity was indeed nothing here, but it didn't mean that anyone could bully and order him around. What's more, his boss, Lin Yi, was sitting next to him. He couldn't lose his boss's face. The young man said angrily, "Who are you? How dare you speak to this young master like this? Get out of the way, or I, Jing Tianqing, will let you know what regret is." "Jing Tianqing? I thought you were a big shot. It turns out that you are the grandson of that old dog, Jing Dongsheng. As a little dog, your barking skill is quite good." Wei Shenjin sneered. If it were someone else, he might give some face. Jing Dongsheng's grandson? Then he was really just a grandson. Tiandan Pavilion and the medicine sect had been like fire and water for a long time. It would be strange if they paid attention to this fool. Jing Tianqing's face suddenly became livid. He hadn't been in Middle Island for a long time, but because of his relationship with Jing Dongsheng and Jing Dongjue, he was relatively popular in Middle Island. He had never been bullied like this before. When in Dongzhou, Jing Tianqing might not be the most talented one, but when he came to Middle Island, he felt quite good about himself. Although Middle Island seemed to be the central area of the Heaven Stage Island, in fact, Dongzhou was the strongest place. From Dongzhou to Middle Island, Jing Tianqing thought that only a woman like Li Xiaoyi was worthy of him. If Li Xiaoyi hadn't been next to him, Jing Tianqing would definitely have immediately turned hostile and attacked him. Fortunately, he still had some sense of propriety and didn't dare to be too presumptuous, lest Li Xiaoyi would be unhappy. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Jing Tianqing said coldly, "I'm with her. We don't like people sharing tables. You two leave here immediately." This time, Wei Shenjin couldn't say anything. It didn't matter if he looked down on Jing Tianqing, but Li Xiaoyi was the chief alchemist of Alchemy Hall. If he talked nonsense, he would offend Alchemy Hall. Lin Yi glanced at Li Xiaoyi lightly. This girl was sitting alone in the middle of the two seats on the bench. Obviously, she didn't want anyone to sit next to her. If she really wanted Jing Tianqing to sit down, she should move now to make room, but it seemed that she didn't have this idea. Alchemist Li, is he with you? Lin Yi asked casually. He guessed that Li Xiaoyi would probably not admit it. If she admitted that she was with Jing Tianqing, Lin Yi wouldn't give up the seat to the Jing family, but would ask her to give it up herself. Sure enough, as Lin Yi expected, Li Xiaoyi looked up and said lightly without any emotion on her face, "No." Jing Tianqing was suddenly embarrassed, and he was also very angry with Li Xiaoyi in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it. He could only snort angrily at Wei Shenjin. Wei Shenjin laughed and said, "The Jing family is really shameless. Forget it, I don't want to argue with you. Get out of here. If you're hungry, our boss doesn't mind throwing you a bone." These words were going to confirm Jing Tianqing's identity as a puppy. How could Jing Tianqing bear it? After a cold snort, the genuine qi in his body was instantly released, and the momentum of the early yuanying stage suddenly crushed towards Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin. Chapter 58:12. If Jing Tianqing didn't know what was good for him, Lin Yi didn't mind teaching him a lesson. However, this guy withdrew his true qi as soon as he released it. Perhaps he knew that this was not a place for him to be presumptuous, so he didn't take further action. It seemed that it was just a momentary impulse under anger. In this way, Lin Yi couldn't teach him a lesson. He didn't want to bully the weak. Regarding Jing Tianqing's gaffe, Li Xiaoyi still didn't have any emotional fluctuations, as if the other party was completely unrelated to her. But when she came, she clearly boarded the ship with Jing Tianqing on a flying spirit beast. It seemed that this chick not only had a strange name, but also a strange character. Looking at her unapproachable appearance, it was not easy for her to tolerate Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin sitting opposite her. After Jing Tianqing withdrew his momentum, he didn't say anything more. He glared at Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin, then simply turned around and left. This made Lin Yi look up to him. Normally, in this kind of situation, he should have left a few brainless words, but this guy actually held back all of them. After he left, the food ordered by Wei Shenjin was delivered. Lin Yi was about to eat when he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Just now, Jing Tianqing's eyes were not only angry and hateful, but also a hint of faint pride. Because it was too vague, Lin Yi himself didn't pay much attention to it. Now that he thought about it, it seemed that something was wrong. Just as he was about to remind Wei Shenjin to see if there was anything wrong, this guy had completely shown it. "Chick, you are so beautiful. Hee hee, so tender. I really want to f***ck you. Come here." Wei Shenjin's face turned red in an instant. While talking nonsense, he reached out to pull Li Xiaoyi's wrist. Lin Yi's face changed. He didn't expect that Jing Tianqing's means were so covert that even he was deceived. Moreover, the effect of the medicine was far more overbearing than he had imagined. In such a short time, Wei Shenjin suddenly had an attack without any warning. Li Xiaoyi, who had been expressionless, finally changed her expression. She directly slapped away Wei Shenjin's palm with the tableware in her hand. Her eyes were full of disgust, and she almost called for help. Lin Yi reacted very quickly. Before Wei Shenjin could make another move, he directly reached out and pulled him back to his seat. At the same time, he secretly restrained his ability to move, and his genuine qi flowed into his meridians like lightning. At the same time, Jing Tianqing, who had just left, quickly came back again with several guards. He pointed at Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin and said, "Catch them. How dare they molest Master Li Xiaoyi, the chief alchemist of Alchemy Hall? They simply don't know how to write the word death." Lin Yi sneered. This guy moved fast. Even a fool would not believe that it was not premeditated. When he finished speaking, Lin Yi's omnipotent genuine qi had already forced the poison in Wei Shenjin's body into his palm. After a slight shake, it condensed into a small black air mass, floating in his palm. Zheng Tianqing, right? Good little trick. You can actually poison people by releasing genuine qi. It is invisible, colorless, and tasteless. You can directly poison people by oppressing them with your aura. You do have some skills. Unfortunately, it's useless against me. Lin Yi wrapped the small black air mass with his genuine qi, grabbed it in front of his eyes, and said disdainfully. With the result, it was easy to reverse the process. Before, Lin Yi did not care about Zheng Tianqing, so he could take advantage of the loophole. Now if he did it again, even if he released all his genuine qi, Lin Yi could make him swallow it back. Zheng Tianqing's face changed slightly. Obviously, he did not expect that not only was Lin Yi not poisoned, but he could also force the poison out of Wei Shenjin so quickly. However, of course, he would not admit what Lin Yi said. He immediately sneered and said, "Nonsense." He turned his head and said to the guards who followed him, "What are you waiting for? These two guys who flirted with Master Li Zhao are here. Hurry up and catch them." Seeing Master Li Zhao's beauty, they dare to do bad things. They are really audacious. The guards looked at each other, but they did not really make a move to catch them. No ordinary person could sit here and eat. Only a fool would rush to catch them. At least they should figure out the matter. Lin Yi ignored Zheng Tianqing and turned to ask Li Zhaoyi, "This matter started because of you. Now tell me, who do you believe?" Li Zhaoyi frowned slightly and looked at the tableware in her hand. She had not finished eating yet, but she had already used the tableware to hit Wei Shenjin's hand. It seemed that she could not continue to use it. Hearing Lin Yi's question, Li Zhaoyi raised her head. Her frowning eyebrows relaxed, and her indifferent expression returned. She threw away the tableware in her hand, stood up, and said, "It has nothing to do with me. You can make trouble yourselves." After saying this, Li Zhaoyi turned around and left, not looking at any of them again. Zheng Tianqing's face darkened, and he said to the guards, "Did you see that? Master Li Zhao is angry. Hurry up and catch these two people." Lin Yi released his genuine qi, and the black gas suddenly dissipated. It was secretly injected into Zheng Tianqing's body. When it came to poisoning, he was really not afraid of anyone. Originally, this thing would take a few breaths to take effect, but Lin Yi accelerated the speed of the drug, so as soon as it entered Zheng Tianqing's body, Zheng Tianqing immediately died. "Oh, you are so beautiful. I like you so much. Come with me." Zheng Tianqing hugged the guard next to him and rubbed his body with all his might. He even made weird noises, which almost made the people eating next to him throw up. The guard who was hugged by Zheng Tianqing was suddenly confused. He subconsciously wanted to break free from his arms, but this bastard was a master at the early stage of the Yuanyin realm, so he couldn't break free for a while. He wanted to ask for help from his companions next to him, but those bastards all stepped back and kept a distance from Zheng Tianqing. Then they looked at their brother with sympathy in their eyes. As the saying goes, if you don't go to hell, who will go to hell? Lin Yi said with a sarcastic smile, "See, you didn't control yourself well. Now the poison has taken effect, right? You've put yourself in danger. What a disgrace. Your Zheng family has been disgraced by you." Li Zhaoyi looked back with a little surprise, and a thoughtful look flashed in his eyes, but he didn't mean to stay. He turned back and continued to leave. Wei Shenjin didn't have time to watch Zheng Tianqing make a fool of himself now. He lowered his head and pulled on Lin Yi's sleeve, saying, "Boss, let's go." Chapter 58:13. Originally, he wanted to get to know Shang Yuhua in the best way possible, but now it was all ruined. It was estimated that Shang Yuhua would not only have a bad impression of him, but also despise Wei Shenjin. Zheng Tianqing's ugly behavior was really disgusting. Lin Yi did not want this guy to affect other people's appetite, so he simply knocked him out and asked the guards to take him out. The rescued guard looked at Lin Yi gratefully and almost knelt down to thank him. However, he did not know that Zheng Tianqing would be like this. The mastermind behind this was Lin Yi. After sending Zheng Tianqing away, Lin Yi turned back to Wei Shenjin and said, "What are you worried about? What happened just now was not your fault. You don't need to be responsible for it." Wei Shenjin still lowered his head and did not dare to look at the Universal Chamber of Commerce. It seemed that his confidence had been seriously damaged. Lin Yi suddenly felt that he had let Zheng Tianqing off too easily just now. It seemed that he had to continue to teach him a lesson next time. However, the more important thing now was to let Wei Shenjin regain his confidence. Lin Yi thought that there was no good way. He just saw the three people at Shang Yuhua's table leaving only her and the middle-aged man from the Universal Chamber of Commerce. So he stood up and pulled Wei Shenjin to go there directly. Wei Shenjin was shocked. How could he have the courage to face Shang Yuhua? Especially after what had happened just now. When he was pulled by Lin Yi, he could not resist. Even if he could resist, he did not dare to have the thought of resisting. "Hello, I am Lin Yi from the Tiandan Pavilion. This is my friend, Wei Shenjin from the Snow Sword faction. Can we sit here?" Lin Yi walked over with Wei Shenjin and asked politely with his fists cupped. The middle-aged man was slightly surprised. After all, he had seen what had happened just now. However, after Lin Yi introduced himself, he immediately stood up with a smile and cupped his fists. "Oh, Master Lin from the Tiandan Pavilion. I've heard a lot about you. I am Shang Wani, the Vice President of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. This is my daughter, Shang Yuhua." Since Shang Wani had stood up, of course, Shang Yuhua could only stand up and salute Lin Yi. She seemed to have a good attitude. Although Lin Yi had some conflicts with the Universal Chamber of Commerce before, it was between the branch of the Universal Chamber of Commerce in the North Island and had nothing to do with the headquarters of Zhongdao. Of course, Shang Wani would not do anything to Lin Yi. "Master Lin, young hero Wei, please sit down. It's my honor to meet you too." Shang Wani laughed and invited Lin Yi and Shang Wani to sit down. Then he asked the waiter to bring their food over and ordered a few more dishes. However, he did not say a word about why Lin Yi and Shang Wani came here. This was the old fox in the business world. If you pretended to want to know the purpose of others when they came to you, you were not the material to do business. Wei Shenjin lowered his head slightly and looked a little uneasy. Lin Yi could only scold him for being disappointing in his heart. How could a man be shy? Lin Yi had no choice but to say, "Here's the thing. I had some dealings with the Universal Chamber of Commerce before. I also heard the name of Vice President Shang in Zhongdao. I just saw you here, so I took the liberty to come over and say hello." Shang Wani laughed and said, "Master Lin, you are too polite. What kind of reputation can I have? In Zhongdao, Master Lin, you are the man of the moment. Especially the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Let's not talk about their past glory. When Master Lin wasn't around, they went into hibernation for a period of time. But once you returned, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion immediately soared." Lin Yi had a good impression of him, so he smiled and said, "Heavenly Dan Pavilion is just a small elixir pavilion. It can't compare to a big chamber of commerce like the All-Tong Chamber of Commerce. It's too much to say that it's soaring. It's all because of everyone's care. Vice President Shang is the real elite of Middle Island. Even Miss Shang is so outstanding. The All-Tong Chamber of Commerce will definitely become more prosperous in the future." This time, the main purpose of his visit was to matchmake Wei Shenjin and Shang Yuhua. Of course, he had to bring the topic to Shang Yuhua. Lin Yi just felt that his change of topic was a little stiff. Was it too obvious? Shang Yuhua curled her lips with some disdain. Although it was only for a moment, Lin Yi caught it. What did this girl mean? Was she looking down on me? On second thought, Lin Yi understood. Shang Yuhua probably thought that Lin Yi wanted to pursue her, so she specially came to talk to him. Who didn't know the two beauties of the Tiandan Pavilion in Zhongdao? They were all Lin Yi's people. Now he wanted to provoke her, Shang Yuhua. It was reasonable for him to be despised by her. Thinking about this, Lin Yi suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If he really wanted to pursue Shang Yuhua, it was not him, Lin Yi, but Wei Shenjin. When Shang Wani heard Lin Yi's praise, he laughed and said, "Master Lin, you flatter me. You are the real young hero. My daughter is definitely not comparable to you, Master Lin." After complimenting each other for a while, Lin Yi turned to Shang Yuhua and said, "Miss Shang, I heard that you have the water spiritual root, right? Do you usually practice the martial arts of ice and snow? My brother, Wei Shenjin, is a great expert in this area. You can talk about this." The purpose was too obvious, and Lin Yi was helpless. There wasn't much else he could say if he kept talking about it, so he might as well make things clear first. He didn't want Shang Yuhua to think that he was the one chasing her. Shang Yuhua was slightly startled. She glanced at Wei Shenjin and said lightly, "I am not interested in the martial arts of ice and snow." "Thank you, Master Lin, for your concern." Wei Shenjin's face turned pale. He lowered his head and became even more silent. Lin Yi thought that this was not good. It was not good to continue like this. He had to find a way to change Shang Yuhua's impression of Wei Shenjin. Unfortunately, before Lin Yi spoke, Shang Wani said, "Master Lin, the elixirs sold in your Tiandan Pavilion are all high quality. I wonder if you can cooperate with our Universal Chamber of Commerce? Please believe that we will definitely give you the greatest sincerity." Originally, Shang Wani would not take the initiative to mention this. However, he could also see that the purpose of Lin Yi's visit was not to get to know him, Shang Wani. Instead, he wanted to matchmake Snow Sword Faction's Wei Shenjin with his daughter. Since this was the case, it was better to quickly mention the cooperation, lest he missed the opportunity. Chapter 58:14. Shang Wani's face suddenly darkened. He nodded lightly and said, "Master Lin is right. I was rude. The elixir business was definitely a profitable business." Shang Wani proposed to cooperate with Tiandan Pavilion because he wanted to get the selling rights of Tiandan Pavilion's elixirs at a price lower than the retail price of Tiandan Pavilion, and then sell them to the West and North Islands through the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Just like how the high-grade pills in the East Continent were prohibited from being sold on other islands without a permit, the pills on each island were also prohibited from being sold on other islands without a permit. If one was caught doing so, they would be labeled as a smuggler, and there was nothing left for them to discuss. Now Tiandan Pavilion's elixirs were in the limelight. If someone wanted to buy them on the Middle Island, he could go directly to Tiandan Pavilion. However, the elixirs of Tiandan Pavilion couldn't be bought on other islands for the time being. Shang Wani was interested in this business opportunity. However, without the permission of Tiandan Pavilion, even if he bought the elixirs, he wouldn't dare to sell them on other islands. Lin Yi's meaning was also very clear. If the elixirs of Tiandan Pavilion were to be sold on other islands, the first choice would be the Hang's Chamber of Commerce, not the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Since there was no possibility of cooperation, Shang Wani's attitude toward Lin Yi naturally became cold. Wei Shenjin was secretly anxious and thought, "Boss, aren't you here to help me matchmake them? Why did you directly refuse him like this? You should at least respond perfunctorily and say something like, 'I'll think about it.' Or is this boss's strategy of loosening the reins only to grasp them better? Forget it, forget it. I can't understand boss's wisdom. I'd better follow boss firmly." Thinking about how his impression in Shang Yuhua's heart was probably quite bad, even if Lin Yi perfunctorily brushed off Shang Wani, there might not be any changes. Wei Shenjin was a little disheartened. He could only hope that his boss had some way to reverse the situation. Lin Yi knew that Shang Wani valued the reputation of Tiandan Pavilion, but he just couldn't agree to anything. Therefore, he didn't care about the change of Shang Wanni's attitude. Instead, he began to focus on building a bridge between Wei Shenjin and Shang Yuhua. Miss Shang, as far as I know, if a person with a water spiritual root can cultivate an ice and snow martial skill, its power will be more powerful than a pure water martial skill. Actually, you can give it a try. Isn't the purpose of our cultivation to pursue powerful abilities? If you can give some pointers to Wei Shenjin's water martial techniques, that would be even better. Lin Yi couldn't think of any better ideas at the moment, so he could only forcefully create a topic for the two of them to talk about. Although Wei Shenjin was grateful for Lin Yi's efforts, he didn't have any expectations. It was probably impossible for him to have a good chat with Shang Yuhua today. Sure enough, Shang Yuhua said to Lin Yi indifferently, "Master Lin, I know my own situation very well. I'm not interested in ice and snow martial skills. As for teaching others water martial skills, I don't think I have the ability to do so, so you don't have to say any more." Previously, when Shang Wanni was enthusiastic towards Lin Yi, Shang Yuhua would still have some scruples. But now, there was no need to be polite. She was just short of telling Lin Yi to mind his own business. Lin Yi didn't know what to say for a moment. Wei Shenjin was such a disappointing thing. He didn't even have the courage to talk to Shang Yuhua. Relying on Lin Yi alone wouldn't be of much use. Shang Yuhua's pretty face was frosty. She turned to Wei Shenjin and said, "I've heard of you. Originally, I thought you were a person worthy of sympathy. But now, it seems that I thought too much. Just now, you took the initiative to provoke Li Zhaoyi from the Dan Hall. Later, you realized that there was no chance, so you turned to provoke me, Shang Yuhua. What kind of person do you think I, Shang Yuhua, am? Do you really think that you can provoke me at will?" Wei Shenjin's face became paler and paler. He quickly shook his head and waved his hand. "It's not like this, Miss Shang. Listen to my explanation. There is nothing to explain. I, Shang Yuhua, am not deaf or blind. Don't tell me that I don't know how to distinguish what I saw with my own eyes," Shang Yuhua said coldly. She didn't want to give any patience to Wei Shenjin. Wei Shenjin was suddenly speechless. When facing Shang Yuhua, he already had some symptoms of brain short-circuiting. Now that she said it, his mind was even more blank, and there was no possibility of thinking. Lin Yi raised his hand and said, "Miss Shang, you really misunderstood what happened just now. Didn't you see what happened to Jing Tianqing later?" Wei Shenjin did lose his composure in front of Li Zhaoyi, but I can guarantee with my name, Lin Yi, that from the time we sat down to the time it happened, he didn't look at Li Zhaoyi at all, because you attracted all his attention. In this case, do you think he would suddenly do those things to Li Zhaoyi?" Shang Yuhua's pretty face was slightly red. Obviously, she didn't expect Lin Yi to say it so straightforwardly, but this didn't change her view of Wei Shenjin. "Master Lin, I said that you don't need to worry about my affairs. As for your friend, I, Shang Yuhua, am also not interested. Can you understand what I mean?" Wei Shenjin was quite depressed. He nodded slightly and said, "I understand, boss. Don't say anything more. Let's go." Shang Yuhua waved her hand and said, "You don't have to go. I'm already full. Father, let's go. Let Master Lin and his friend enjoy the food slowly." "Well, Master Lin, enjoy your meal. I'll leave first." Although Shang Wanni was not as enthusiastic as before, he still did the proper etiquette. He stood up and cupped his fists to say goodbye. Then, without waiting for Lin Yi's answer, he left with Shang Yuhua. "Boss, thank you for helping me this time. It seems that I and Shang Yuhua are not fated to be together." "No, it's not fated to be together. Let's just forget about this matter." Wei Shenjin sighed and shook his head unconsciously. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Are you a person who gives up so easily? Or should I say, you actually don't really like Shang Yuhua? Otherwise, why would you give up so easily? Nothing in this world is easy to achieve. The more difficult and dangerous it is, the more precious it is in the end. If you aren't afraid of regretting in the future, then you can give up. But if you really like Shang Yuhua, you better pull yourself together. Boss, I really like Shang Yuhua. Wei Shenjin suddenly straightened his body and said solemnly. But then he collapsed again, but she has made it clear that she doesn't want to see me. What should I do? Chapter 58:15. Wei Shenjin's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, Boss, you're right. With Shang Yuhua's talent, appearance, and family background, if it was easy to pursue her, she would have been taken back by someone else. I can't give up. As long as I don't give up, there will be a chance. It's good that you can think that way. Come on, hurry up and finish eating. We'll go back first. There will be plenty of opportunities on the way to the northernmost island. There will be a time when you can make Shang Yuhua look at you differently. Lin Yi was also relieved. At least, he managed to appease Wei Shenjin. He didn't completely lose confidence. It's not easy to be a matchmaker. Lin Yi thought of the vow he made when he was the matchmaker for Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing in the secular world. How could he forget it so quickly? Even if he succeeded in matchmaking this time, he definitely couldn't be the host of the wedding anymore. When Lin Yi and Wei Shenjin finished eating, there were fewer people in the small restaurant. The Okuda Dam fleet would only finish loading and unloading the goods tomorrow morning, so they had to wait until tomorrow morning to set off. Lin Yi was thinking if he should go back to the Tiandan pavilion first. It wouldn't be too late to come back after daybreak. However, there wasn't much time left until daybreak. The goods of the fleet might have finished loading and unloading in advance, so he didn't get off the ship. On the way back to his room, Wei Shenjin was worried and complacent. Lin Yi told him to go back to sleep, lest he got schizophrenia. Remembering that he still owed Ho Guanqi a mountain-gazing pill, Lin Yi went to his room. Brother Ho, are you resting? I'm Lin Yi. Ho Guanqi quickly came to open the door. It seemed that he didn't rest much. Brother Lin, it's great that you can come to me. Please come in. Originally, I was thinking of going to look for you, but I didn't want to disturb your rest, so I didn't go. Brother Ho, if you need anything, you can find me at any time. Don't be shy. Lin Yi said with a smile and followed Ho Guanqi into his room. After the door was closed and the restrictions on it took effect, Lin Yi took out a jade bottle and said, Brother Ho, this is a mountain-gazing pill. Take it back and report. Brother Lin, you've already refined the mountain-gazing pill? Ho Guanqi said in surprise. At the same time, he eagerly took the jade bottle and opened the bottle cap to have a look. A faint pill fragrance wafted into the air. Ho Guanqi's spirit was instantly shaken, and his cultivation showed signs of loosening. However, he did not dare to smell too much and quickly closed the bottle. The mountain-gazing pill was not something he could use at his current level. If he used it, there would only be disadvantages and no benefits. It's really the mountain-gazing pill, and it's a special grade mountain-gazing pill. Ho Guanqi looked at Lin Yi in amazement. This quality of the mountain-gazing pill was not something that any profound level 1 alchemist could refine. Perhaps even a profound level 2 alchemist could not guarantee that they could refine a special grade mountain-gazing pill. More importantly, how long had it been since Lin Yi obtained the mountain-gazing stone? He was simply a monster in alchemy. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, Brother Ho, actually, I refined this mountain-gazing pill using the divine sense pill fire. If possible, I suggest that you also cultivate your divine sense, and then try to condense the divine sense pill fire as soon as possible. In this way, it will be very helpful to your alchemy ability. Ho Guanqi was slightly startled, and then nodded with a dignified expression. Thank you Lin brothers for reminding me. I will find a way to temper my divine sense. If there is a chance in the future, I will also find some cultivation methods related to divine sense, and strive to condense the divine sense pill fire as soon as possible. When Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang and others failed to condense the divine sense pill fire, he did not pay too much attention to it. Anyway, not having the divine sense pill fire did not affect alchemy. After all, he was still familiar with the various attributes of the true chi pill fire. But after seeing the special grade mountain gazing pill refined by Lin Yi using the divine sense pill fire, Hou Guanqi made up his mind to find a way to improve the strength of his divine sense. Not only must he condense the pill fire, but he must also have enough divine sense to support the divine sense pill fire to refine a furnace of pills. Although this was not something that could be achieved in a short period of time, he must first pay attention to it. Lin Yi smiled and said, "If Brother Hou can successfully condense the divine sense pill fire, I believe that with Brother Hou's alchemy level, you will definitely have a major breakthrough. Then I will thank you for your auspicious words." Hou Guanqi smiled and cupped his fists towards Lin Yi. "Since I want to cultivate my divine sense, then I will shamelessly ask Brother Lin for a favor. Brother Hou is too polite. If there is anything you need, just tell me. As long as I can do it, I will absolutely not say no," Lin Yi said solemnly. For Hou Guanqi, he was really grateful, not to mention taking care of the Tiandan pavilion. Just this time the mountain gazing stone and the spirit tempering pill were things he urgently needed. It was simply a great help. Hou Guanqi laughed and said, "Then I will thank Brother Lin in advance. In fact, I have kept all the divine sense grass roots you gave me. As for the mountain gazing stone, I used my own things to exchange for it. Now I can't condense the divine sense pill fire, so it is impossible to refine the spirit tempering pill, but if I want to cultivate my divine sense, the spirit tempering pill is the best thing." So, Lin Yi immediately understood the meaning of Hou Guanqi. He wanted to ask Lin Yi to refine the pill. But this was a trivial matter. Refining the spirit tempering pill was originally in Lin Yi's plan. Refining it once or twice was not a big deal at all. "Brother Hou, rest assured, I can definitely refine the spirit tempering pill. Just leave this matter to me." Lin Yi smiled slightly and said very straightforwardly. Hou Guanqi was suddenly overjoyed. With Lin Yi refining the mountain gazing pill, how could he fail to refine the spirit tempering pill? If he could have 20 or 30 spirit tempering pills, it was possible for the strength of his divine sense to increase by more than 10 times. Unfortunately, he also knew that this was only a dream. The spirit tempering pill was not effective. Even if he really had 20 or 30 spirit tempering pills, the restrictions would not be able to improve his divine sense that much. "Lin brothers, these are the divine sense grass roots you gave me. You can see how many you can refine. The rest will be your reward, and if you successfully refine the spirit tempering pill, I only need half of it." Hou Guanqi took out the jade box that Lin Yi had given him before. The divine sense grass roots inside had not been moved. There were still as many as before. Although he said half, in fact, Hou Guanqi thought that about 10 or so spirit tempering pills would be enough for him. He could still exchange them for other heaven and earth treasures. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.